Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm your host,
Hey everyone, it's Wednesday.
and along with Joshua Sean.
Hey Rob, how are you? How's your week been going?
It's been crazy busy, just crazy busy
Right.
with work stuff, box building, getting the stream stuff all reconfigured for the Mac. So
Keeping me happy with all that too. You got to keep me happy.
it's been a fun week.
I have a question for you. Can you see my neck in the camera
Yeah,
and how red it is? I
no,
want you to know that I didn't
yeah.
do anything. I have an electric razor I'm trying for the first time, so my neck is glowing radioactive. So I apologize if that's all you see.
Yeah, it looks like you're trying to hang yourself.
I don't, yeah, I use this electric razor for the first time, and apparently my skin didn't jive with it. So that's why I look like I came back from a radioactive power plant. My neck is just glowing right now. So I apologize, everyone, for my glowing neck.
No, it's all good.
Well, we have quite a few topics in store today. We may have a special guest. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it in time. East Coast time is, our show comes on at 11 o'clock East Coast time, and we are trying to still figure that out. We may have our special guest come on. If we don't, we're still going to forge forward. We will be talking about reverberation and reverberation via guitar pedals this evening. And I will be giving objective pros and cons to what we think and how it has been implemented in ITC. For better or worse. We're going to go through the pros and cons of that. And Rob, is there anything in particular you wanted to address?
No, not really. Just yeah, no, not really.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Got
Well,
a few new radios, got a few new toys.
I was going to ask you because I know that you've been playing. What's the new radio you got? I know that you just got something brand new.
We were talking about this radio actually last week.
And that's it. How does it now? You haven't set it up yet to. Oh yes, of course, the 450, right?
This is the 450.
That has a shortwave function for sweeping. We should really get set up and test out, especially just north of us in Santa Clarita, Valencia area.
Yeah, we can go visit Paul Walker.
Ooh.
People have been requesting.
Well, yeah, I wasn't thinking that, but you'll drive and I'll go wherever you take us. That's fine.
Yeah.
But that radio definitely has very clean reception, excellent low noise amplifier. The signal's strong, excellent radio to start with for scanning.
no,
Right now, manual scans.
Yeah, the manual scanning on it is incredible because the way that the knob works, it has a hole for your finger so you can just sweep. And you can do a slow sweep, meaning like every 10th, or you can go every 100th or every 10th. If you go fast scan, it goes every 10th. Yeah, so it's like super. So you can scan every single frequency through the FM band or every single frequency through a short wave, things like that. It's crazy.
Right. No, and you know what? It's a well-known box for that. And I can't wait to see what we can do with it because getting that to scan automatically, especially with shortwave, is going to be spectacular. It's really hard in our area. You're in Ventura County, I'm in Los Angeles County, so shortwave it's just not really an option unless you leave the outer city limits. And for us, Santa Clarita, Valencia, Palmdale, Mojave Desert area, see what we can get out there.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that would be amazing.
Hi, Christy. Hi, Melissa. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Can you see the comments, Rob? They just popped up on my screen so I can finally say hi to everyone.
So,
hey, Joe, how are you? Joe, the 450, I believe, Rob, you've seen them for $60 or $65, right? You were showing me one.
I found one, and that's rare. You can find them for right around $100, but I saw one that was super clean for what, $70? I think it was $70. It was.
And I messaged that person. I didn't hear back.
Yeah, I think it was like $68 or something like that, but for $70, oh my god, it's amazing.
Right. Hey, Matt, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for your time. We'll try and do our best to make it worth your while.
Yeah, Steve was gonna jump on, but he said, yeah, Restream doesn't work with phones, so he's
Okay.
kinda
Yeah.
happy,
Our
so
our special surprise guest, we were going to continue Ghost Box Legends, and next on the list was Steve Holte. And Katie Holte couldn't be with us this evening, but we wanted to get Steve on the show so he could talk about his contributions, what he's currently working on, kind of go through the history of the early modern day ITC from the 2000s up. But we will have Steve on as soon as we can. We'll line that up. So stay tuned. Eventually, we'll get as many living Ghost Box Legends on the show as we can to discuss their creations with us, which I'm really excited about. I really am.
oh, no, exactly. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and I'm still working on getting another live stream, maybe going this week. Um, oh,
A
here
third show, Rob?
just temporarily.
A third?
It's
Okay.
gonna do. Somebody was gonna be on location, and I was gonna
Oh,
jump on with them. But anyway, we have a
good.
special surprise guest popping in, so let's bring him on.
No way.
Yep, you ready? Let's bring
Oh,
him on.
okay. I got to be cool and calm. Don't get nervous. Be cool and calm. Don't be nervous.
It's
Hey,
Mr.
Steve, how are you?
A himself.
How you guys doing tonight?
Doing
Oh,
good.
thank you so much for joining us, man. It truly is an honor.
Yeah, I actually the link that sent it wouldn't open. I had to mess around with it. I couldn't get it to work on my phone, but I figured it out. I had to use a different browser, but we're good now, as long as you guys can hear me.
Oh no,
Loud and clear.
clear.
Very cool. So what are you guys up to tonight?
We're just kind of talking about you a little bit, talking about a couple of different radios. Yeah, I got a 450 in the other day, so um
A 450? What's that?
Oh, the Grundig.
Grundig 450.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you could let's see. Let me see if I could turn it around for you here. Let me see my Grundig.
Oh, there it is. Speaking of, yeah.
The
Dude,
Satellite 800, man. I've had that thing.
Wow.
I had it for about 20 years now. I love that thing. It sounds great.
I found
Yeah.
one the other day. I was actually gonna message the guy and see if we can wheel and deal on it.
Yeah, I mean, those are great radios. I mean, are you taking it apart to use it as a ghost box, or are you just gonna use it?
Just gonna use it.
Because yeah, I haven't taken it apart. I'm afraid the thing cost me like $700 20 years ago.
Right.
I'm afraid to touch the thing.
Yeah, it's probably doubled in value easily. I would imagine.
Yeah, so it's not worth me digging in there and to try to mess with it. I got enough sweeping radios, so
I was gonna say, you must be having to rent storage units for all of your radios and projects.
are you volunteering? I can ship you some.
I know, seriously. You know what? I may have to be the storage unit. I would be happy to receive those items, of course.
Dude,
So
I need
anyway.
to get one of your boxes, and I want to do like a random sweep. I mean, I just want to demo one, like on my show on Saturdays. So I'm trying to get like different radios just to do experiments with,
Right.
because we do live, ghost box sessions. So I just want to kind of show different people different radios and see what everybody likes and just try different experiments, dude. It's been crazy responses, and it's a lot of fun.
Experiments is where it's all about. I mean, if there wasn't people out there doing experiments, we wouldn't be where we are now. If people didn't try and do something.
Exactly. And and it's funny because we see a lot of people, and I want to introduce people to different boutique boxes opposed
Yeah.
to using the S box or the SB11 or SB7, radios that you can pull off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're good radios, but nothing beats a boutique box.
No. Nothing.
Those I got a new one recently. Is the Talk box, TAKH, and it's some S something ST1 or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. It looks just like the S box, but it's got random sweep on there. It's got linear and random sweep on there. It's $80 on eBay. It sounds pretty good.
Was that the
Wow.
box that you were playing with the other day?
Yeah, that was I posted a video yesterday.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't sound bad. Fits
It
in the
ripped
palm of my
apart.
hand.
it didn't sound bad at all. I
No.
first thought it was something that you built, and then I was like, no, it does, because you're hitting the sweep circuit on the buttons, and I was like,
Yeah,
no,
somebody else wrote me and asked me, "Oh, how do I get that box that you just made?" I said, "What box you talking about?" They said, "The one you just did a video for." I said, "I didn't make that." you know, I, but I did send that guy. I must have sold that guy at least a half a dozen boxes already, because when people ask me about it, I send them the link to the eBay auction. The guy's like, "Thanks," So
Right.
pay it forward.
yeah, maybe he'll just reimburse you or send you a free one.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at all the stuff that I got. I got all these radios. I got all the stuff that was gifted to me over the years, and I still want to use other stuff. I'll use an SB7 every now and then or whatever, just to mix it up a little bit. I'm always trying this stuff. When I saw that radio, I said I gotta have it. It's $80. I have a million radios already here, but why not? What's one more?
Right. Exactly. At that point, yeah. Well
And this
said.
is something for you, Steve. This is probably still one of my favorite little hacked radios.
The 200.
Which one?
Sanjin?
Yeah, the Sanjin 200.
Oh yeah, the Sanjin. That's a good one, man. A lot of people didn't like it because they said it's too fast or whatever. I like fast, so it's good for me.
Yeah, for me too. I mean, it's just you hit the sweep and it's quiet. It's really not that noisy.
No, and it's not. And I've made a whole bunch of boxes. As a matter of fact, that was the very first box that Steve Huff ever had, was my box. And and I made a piggyback. I called it a piggyback box. It was a Sanjian with a sweep circuit attached to it. And it was a fully adjustable Sanjian. That was the first box he ever had.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I remember he used to do coffee. What was it? Ghost box with coffee or something like that. Spirit.
Oh yeah, coffee with ghosts or something. Yeah, I remember that.
But those sessions were pretty cool, and I used to sit down and watch them because he did them regularly every morning, and I was like, wow, he's getting some really good responses, and he was using your box.
Yeah, it's just stuff comes and goes. It depends on whoever is using your stuff at the time. Just like me. I mean, I can't use. If somebody calls me up and says, "Hey, how come you're not using my box? I haven't seen you use it in a while." Well, because I'm building boxes. Katie's building boxes. Right. I got 25 Frank's boxes. I got all these custom boxes. Joe's box. I don't have enough time in my life to do a session with all these boxes every day.
Right.
But I'm not going to get rid of them either. I mean, they're collector's items at this point.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and this is something that we ask everybody. So, how did you get into building ghost boxes?
Great question.
I just figured it was the next step. When I started, I was just doing regular traditional EVP. Never even heard of a ghost box. I started in 2005, and 2006 came around. I did like my first investigation, and then I started getting really into EVPs and stuff. So I contacted what the hell's his name? The guy who was a Ghost Hunters, Ron somebody.
Rob?
Oh, and the guy that built the equipment, like on season 1 of Ghost Hunters, Ron somebody.
Yeah, I forget his name.
He's into UFOs and stuff. Anyway, but he was doing an event because I used to go to all the shows and get all these autographs and stuff. So he was doing an event with Brian Harwell. Remember the Dude Run, guy. So those guys were doing Eastern State Penitentiary that night, and the guy Ron Milione, that's his name.
Right.
And he says, I got this device. It's called the EVP listener. And I said, what the hell is that? Oh yeah. It tunes in on a frequency. Basically, now I know exactly what it was. It was a little Radio Shack amplifier, which are good. I got a bunch of them. Plus, it has the little microphones. Electret is what they call it. Whatever. Yeah.
Electret, yeah.
So it had that plugged into it, and basically what it was picking up the 50-60 hertz hum from EMF, but you were hearing it audibly. So I said, all right. I didn't know that at the time. So I drive all the way to Philadelphia, wait for this guy all day long. He won't come out of his hotel room. I finally get him to get it, and away I went, and then I heard about the Frank's box soon after. So and that took all my attention away from. I still love EVPs, regular EVPs, but I mean, ghost box stuff is where it's been intriguing for me. You know, I went on an event in early 2007 with my Joe's box because I contacted Joe Siapi, and he says, "Hey, I was just building one of these things anyway. It's perfect timing." I said, "That's great." He says, "It's my own version. It's FM only. Yeah, blah blah blah." I said, "Okay." Turns out he lives in Pennsylvania, one state away, so he's like an hour and a half from me. So I go to his house on the weekends. So me and Joe would sit there, we'd brainstorm, get the books out, take notes. What are we gonna do now? What do you want it to sound like? Let's try this. Let's test this. And so we did this for like a couple months until we finally got it where it was right. Because I have to keep going back to him and say, "You got to tweak it. You got to tweak it here, tweak it there." And so he eventually started tweaking it, and we got it sounding pretty good. And then you know, I got a bunch more Frank's boxes. Some other people wanted to give me boxes. And in 2010, my friend Rich Georgina says, "You can make your own box." I said, "Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think so." He says, yeah, you could do it. So he did. He taught me how to build my first ghost box, and
Right.
I just took that and I ran with it in 2010, and I've been making boxes ever since. So
Nice. I mean, you helped this field tremendously, and I just want to applaud you for that and give you your props. I mean, not
yeah, thank you.
you did a lot of amazing things. You know, you introduced everybody to the reverse ghost box.
Yeah, it's still very important to me. I really love that
Yeah, it's
feature.
amazing.
And I mean, yes, I'm using, you know, something that you created a while back, and you know, I know it's, and you don't get enough credit for that.
Right.
And everybody, when I use that, because I use it constantly, I'm getting so much breakthrough communication using it that it's just amazing, and I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
It's so amazing.
Well, your
And
Saturday audience is, I mean, to say addicted to it is an understatement. They want the reverse and they want that sound because it's so easy to hear forward speech through that.
Your reverse box, I'm listening to it, Rob. That FM reverse you got, that's quiet. Not really sure how you did that, but it's really quiet sounding. Like it's like there's like no noise. Good job on that one. I don't know how you did that, but how'd you get the noise out of there?
dude, it took a lot of time. I burnt through so many freaking circuits. It's crazy. And basically all it is the because if you take apart an SB7, there's basically
Okay.
two boards. There's the daughter board and then the FM board. So basically I'm just using the FM board. It's just a digital circuit, and then I use the T555 timing chip on it. That's how I get the suite. That's how it works with digital.
Yeah, I see Joe used the 555 chip. I haven't used that. I've used other ones. You know, the other I can't remember the I'm drawing a blank now. You know, the regular the LM324s,
Right.
real common for the sweep
Right.
circuit. That's the one Frank used all the time. I used that for many years. And then you got
Right here.
I use the ICL 8038 now, which I love this board. This board is so easy to work with. I mean, you can modify it all over the place. And once you get it and you know how to build it, you can build that thing in like 15, 20 minutes. You can modify it for the lower voltage radios. You can do it for the bigger voltage radios. I've had it up to 24 volts already. I've had it down to 1 volt. So it's you could really, it's got some range to it.
That's a lot
And
of
those
range.
things, I got them from a guy in China. I think I bought like 50 boards at a time. I think I got them for like $1.50 each. You know,
Right.
so
Yeah, and then I mean, because I got a couple of them before he ran out of stock, and now you can't even find those boards. You had to go
Yeah.
to the other place that we can get them from now, but they're a lot more expensive.
yeah.
They're crazy expensive.
Maybe I'll get you into because I saved him as my eBay seller. So I have the guy that I got because they made 2 different boards. I mean, they both work, but they're different value resistors and capacitors and all that stuff. It's all different values in there between the boards, but they both do the same exact thing. But I like the board that I have because you could actually mount the potentiometer right on the board. Katie likes to take the potentiometers off the board, I don't. I like to have it on the board. That way I don't have to put two things in a box. I can just connect it and it'll be there inside and it won't move.
Yeah.
So I kind of like to do that. But my guy has the older boards, and that's the one I get it from. It's from China. Takes a little longer to get, but if you buy them in bulk, by the time you get it, you got enough for a couple of years. So
No, exactly. And I mean, I know that everybody's buying stuff, from China right now. And it's just right now with the shipping dude, I've had the last order. I placed two big orders. One of them, they sent me the wrong parts and didn't want to give me a refund. So yeah, just count that as a loss.
yep.
My ones, they shipped them to the wrong address and I'm having a hell of a time getting a refund on that. But I think I'm just going to call the bank up and just say, look, here's proof. The post office sent them back. Done. But
Yeah. It's a problem with eBay a lot. I get beat on eBay more than I'd like to admit, because they'll sit there and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll check right into this. I'll get back to you. Then you forget about it. Then some time passes by the time, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot. I'll get right on that right now. And they answer you back like one day after you can do anything about it. So once you're beat and they know you're beat and the time's up, they'll be like, sucker. You know what I mean? So what are you going to do? You can't do anything about it.
Right. No, exactly. And that's the bad thing that us box builders have to go through to try to, build a box for everybody. But it's a lot of fun.
It is, but there are people out there and they'll be like, oh man, you're charging X amount of dollars, geez, whatever. Well, then you build it. Build your own box.
Right.
But you're asking me for them. The point is, it's not about the radio you're buying. You say you're buying a $10 radio and you're adding a couple dollars sweep circuit or whatever. That's not the point. The point is you found that sweep circuit. You were able to modify that sweep circuit. You figured out what radio to use, how to change the voltages, how to make it sweep, how to mount everything, how to do all that stuff. You did that. Where's your time? Doesn't your time count for anything?
Right. Well,
yeah, people don't take that into consideration. I mean, it's because they can go out and buy a SB7 off the shelf for $100, whatever it is, but it doesn't sound anywhere like a boutique box. Nowhere near a boutique box.
No.
You're not going to get anywhere near the communication that you would get from a boutique box.
No, and a lot of these newer radios that are out there now, they sound analogish, but they're really not. They're digital. Still. And you could tell because if you listen to my RCA, there's that's completely 100% analog. It sweeps across the band. It is so slow. I mean, it's so quiet. Right. Then you get to the other ones. You always hear that. You always hear that something in between with the digital. Sometimes it's slight. Sometimes it's not so slight, but it's there, and you'll know it when you hear it.
Yeah. Do you have any more of your RCA boxes?
Yeah, I got about 6 of them.
All right, I'm gonna have to get one from you.
You want the bandwidth adjustment or non-bandwidth adjustment?
Get with. From. Get with.
Yeah, just send it with. Send me a message, and then I'll get the box.
Yeah, we'll hash it out. We'll work it.
Yeah. So if Steve, you need to share your information with how people can contact you. So if anybody wants to buy a box from you, you can do that.
There's a couple different ways you could do it. You could either Facebook is the easiest way to do it. I'm on there as Steve Holte. Be honest with you, I'm probably the only Steve Holte on Facebook. I don't have a real common name. So, or Holte Paranormal on Facebook. And you can message us right from there. And I'll get it either way. I'll get it no matter which way they send it. I'll get it. And then, tell me which one. Like today, people were like, I had a bunch of messages today and somebody wants this. Can I add this video? We're starting to do a little bit more of that since Katie's been in the picture and she's been doing the bulk of the computerized stuff, whatever. I'm more of an sitting at the bench doing old school stuff. But, people are asking stuff now. Hey, can you add this feature? Can you add that feature and stuff like that? So we're taking it all in and saying, okay, well, this is what people want. Is that something we could do? Something we could add? Like if you bought a box from me and said, well, I also want this feature. Can you add it into that box before you ship it to me? Well, I don't know. Maybe, but I would not have to ask her.
But Steve, we want reverb. We want
Oh yeah, no reverb.
we want echo.
We're talking about
No.
reverb tonight at some point later. But yeah, your boxes, Steve. First of all, I have my own opinions about reverb, but your boxes are so phonetically clear and accurate, especially the RCA box, that it does such a disservice to add anything to that box. I mean, you want to be as close to the signal as possible, and adding a lot of these effects just removes you. And we're going to talk about that later. I know it's late for you, but I think the second half of the show, I'm going to go into that. But your box is literally as is. You're done. You don't need to add anything or do anything to it. If you want to experiment, that's fine. But really, in terms of ITC research, that's all you need. It's just a good, clear phonetical sound.
I feel so. The key is, I mean, there's so many different boxes out there that you could be using and stuff like that. The goal is to get you never know when you get these radios, and that's the whole thing. When you're a builder, you buy radios. Some of them aren't even usable at all. So then you just got to salvage. We rip speakers and knobs off it, switches off it. Just salvage it for parts, because I don't want to rip it apart and then try to send it back to the eBay and said it was broken when I got it, because that's not cool to do that to somebody else.
Right.
I did that enough to Radio Shack back in the day. So
I think they encouraged that, though. They liked when their customer base experimented. I think they knew that was going on, with different things.
Yeah, Radio Shack back when they had all the radios coming out, all the new ones. I'd be in there. They would know me. It was right by my work, and I would go in there and I'd get it, and I'd go back to work, and I'd try to, at the break room, I would open it up and I would try to hack the thing. If I couldn't hack it and broke it, on the way home, I would just stop back at Radio Shack and said, yeah, it turned on, didn't work. They go, okay. And they would just give my money back.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
and now they're bankrupt. So it's probably my fault.
Steve Holte bankrupted Radio Shack.
I might have contributed anyway.
Oh, that's great. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you could make a point for that too.
Sure.
Oh, Katie says one of her first jobs was at Radio Shack.
Yes. Yes, she told me that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. What are the odds? Look at that, Katie. What are the odds?
I know.
I would only imagine that she would be a manager of some sort. Pretty smart. So.
Oh yeah. Well, Ben Jenkins said Katie's the brains of the operation. So
she definitely is, and I wouldn't argue that at all. Yeah, she what you call it. Whenever somebody talks to me about stuff, I'm at a certain level, and then she's at a certain level, but she takes it like way higher level than I would take it. I get frustrated really fast. I've made TV video ghost boxes, and I couldn't mount the sweep circuit on the side of it. I couldn't get it to tighten up, and it aggravated me so much. It was perfectly working, no problem whatsoever. It just didn't do that. Katie is a witness to this. I opened up the door. I went out into the front yard and I smashed it on the sidewalk. Oh, it was in pieces. Oh, and she goes, "Why'd you do that?" I said, "I couldn't get that. I couldn't get the sweep board to. It was just loose and I couldn't tighten it." She said, "We just smashed it for us."
Whatever.
That was the last straw.
I mean, those TVs, you get them at Goodwill, they're like $5.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you pulled an Office Space with the printer. They just took it out to the field and they just took the bat to it. You're like, I'm done.
That's it. And I still have the sweep circuit. I saved the sweep circuit, so I still have that. Right. And I still have another TV sitting here that I haven't even touched yet. So I may go back to that, dabble in it eventually, but I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to it. What do you guys think? Video ITC, like in the way that Frank did it with old analog TV. You want to hear something that threw me off the other day? Right. So a person in Canada says, "How would that video box work here?" I said, "I don't know. It's analog signals. They don't exist anymore." He goes, No. We still have analog signal here in Canada. I go, "No." He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, you may be the first person to ever test this video ghost box out getting a signal."
Right.
Because I've never had a signal to work with analog. Did you know Canada still has analog signal?
I didn't know.
I did not know that.
Well, now you know.
Wow. Now, I did see some footage actually on your channel when I believe Frank had some people at his house and that he showed his video ITC box and he got the what everyone sees sometimes. I don't want to say everyone, but the man in the hat, the man with the black cowboy hat. So I did see that through some of his video evidence, but I haven't seen much else. For his boxes specifically.
You know what? The problem with those boxes is it's just a bunch of a snowy picture, and it's almost like looking at a rug, like one of those plush rugs, and then
Good
you stare
analogy.
at it long enough. There's Elvis, I got him, and there's Scooby Doo was in here, and like you just see everything, and you're really not seeing anything, and that's how I feel about the video ghost box. Whether it works or doesn't work, I don't know. You would have to seriously go through frame by frame by frame, even if you did like a 1-minute session and you went frame by frame, that would probably take you a few days to go over that.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
So I mean, I don't know if anybody has. I mean,
Right.
by the end of sitting there for hours and hours and hours, I'll be like, yeah, I see everything. Look at this. I see this. I see that. I'll be just making stuff up.
Your
I don't
brain
want to
starts
do that.
matrixing. Right. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't like the matrixing thing. I don't dig with the matrixing. Like some people say, hey, the radio. I said, yeah, that was just some guy on the radio, and they said, but it answered my question.
Right.
But but I said, you asked, is there somebody there, and you hear like Mike or something like that, which is clearly I could hear it. It's a radio disc jockey guy. That's the guy that said Mike. Like, hey, this is Mike in the morning or whatever he was saying. So you happen to tune in at Mike, and they go, oh, that's awfully coincidence that it came through at the exact time I asked for a name. I'm like, yes, and that's all that it is.
Right.
So get over it.
Right. It's when they start cursing profanity or calling you a nickname that only you knew, that maybe
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So very personal information. That's when it really starts to become real, and you go, wait, there is intelligent communication amongst this pareidolia. I was going to ask you, have you seen any of the video ITC from Simone, TCI Seattle? She's done some photography that is, I believe it's with a camera. I don't know if it's video feedback loop method, but there is some amazing evidence she's captured. TCI Seattle. Her name is Simone, and just take a look at it. I just wanted to get your opinion on it at some point.
Yeah, I definitely will. I don't know why I had this thing popped up here, but all right, here we go. No, I'm just trying to get the chat. I didn't even know there was a chat in here. I just now noticed it.
Right.
So somebody asked to how are you when you lose at a board game?
I am
the important questions.
Yeah, it's no, you don't want to play a board game. let's just say, well, you don't want to play specific board games. Some board games I can handle losing, but like a Monopoly or something that takes hours and hours and hours. Like, has anybody ever played Monopoly and after like 5-6 hours, I just sit there and I go, I think you won. Look at that, you won. Great, let's go. I don't even care if I won or not. After that game goes on so long, you don't even care who wins.
Like, please let this end.
Yeah, but I mean, I've lost some games where I threw the board. I won't lie. I'm a sore loser.
Well, hey, you know what? Yeah,
Parcheesi.
Parcheesi, yeah, that's one I've thrown.
Oh God, we need a video montage of you throwing these boards. I think it'd be hilarious.
and the video ghost box out on the sidewalk.
Oh no, that's the one I can't watch. No. I appreciate the story. I understand your sentiment, but I can't watch that.
That was so.
Yeah. But speaking of the video, I see the gal that up in Seattle. Yeah, she was using a loop method.
It was loop method. Okay.
Yeah, and some
I've never done that.
It's amazing.
She has some amazing evidence that my jaw hits the floor. I'm just like, and the time it takes to review, like you said, Steve, to review that footage frame by frame, you have to be so dedicated and passionate to sit there and do that and have the stamina and perseverance to do that. But her evidence is impressive. I mean, just take a look at it and see what you think.
But here's something that, so what happened was Josh was here one weekend. We're doing some ITC stuff, just experimenting. And he talked me into buying a monitor, buying a video camera so I could do the loopback method.
Mm-hmm. I'm spending his money, not mine.
Exactly.
Way to do it.
It's still sitting here in the box that it came in. But I was like, hey, Josh, you know what I thought of? Instead, what we can do is actually just shoot the video live, but using a strobe light just to see as an experiment. So we wouldn't have to sit down and slow it down. That way it's basically.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there. All right.
So I just ordered a strobe light from the 70s because all the newer ones, they don't work. I've tried a couple of LED ones. It's not the same. So I talked to somebody else and they said, yeah, you have to get one from the 70s.
Well,
So
the
I found,
frequency, the wavelength frequency is what we need from those strobe lights,
yeah.
those older strobe lights.
So I ordered one and it should be here probably tomorrow or Friday. So it'll be interesting to see.
That will be, yeah. You know what? I think you might be onto something there. That actually sounds kind of cool because you know what? It would. So you would almost be able to see it in real time just by modifying time.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Right.
Just wanted to make sure I was getting it right.
Yeah,
that's the theory.
exactly.
Yeah, I like that. That's pretty neat.
So we'll see. I'm going to set it up once the strobe gets here, and I'll find a spot for it, and then just set up the monitor, set up the loop back, and let's try it out. See what we get.
I haven't seen a lot of people use the loop. I mean, I saw it on like I think like Ghost Adventures, like on early Ghost Adventure videos, but I don't really see anybody using it. So it might be good. I'm a big proponent on bringing stuff back. You know, it doesn't have to be brand new. You could do a new spin on an old idea. You know, and that's pretty much what I've always done. Is I just take an old idea, put a new spin on it because the old idea worked. Just needs to be improved. So
right, but isn't that what we're all doing anyway? We're trying to work on take an idea and try to improve on it because other people are trying to do it the wrong way by using pedals, trying to take out reverb or not reverb, add reverb, but trying to modify the signal coming in, and they're using freaking noise gates to kill all of the communication that's coming in, and that's nonsense.
Yeah, I never understood all the pedals. I mean, I at the beginning, the reason why I came out with reverse to begin with is I woke up one Sunday morning and I said, okay, I wonder if I could do reverse with a guitar pedal. I wonder if that even exists. So it was a Boss pedal. It was a DD11, and I called the local music shop, and they said, yeah, we got one of them here. Wasn't cheap, but I brought it back home, hooked it all up, and it worked. Just hooking it up. So I said, okay, it works. So now I decided I'm going to take it out of the case and I'm going to incorporate it into its own box. You know, that's how I came up with the reverse box because I took the pedal, I wired everything all inside the box and it looks like a regular ghost box. But it's basically an RCA with a reverse pedal in it is how I did the original one. But it works fine. I have no problems with it whatsoever. The problem with the using too many pedals and stuff like that, like you said, you're losing it. You're losing something down the line. Taking all the noise out, they use noise. Yeah, I understand if it's nothing but noise, that would probably be annoying, but a little bit of noise helps them. It's a carrier wave for them to work with.
Right.
So I don't think that taking it away is going to do anything. And I always tell people with the echo and reverb, you know, take my box and go stand in the shower with it if you want to hear echo or reverb. Right. That's all I say.
Yeah, the psychoacoustics or room acoustics seem to lend themselves better. Natural reverb, natural echo, natural delay. And we saw that in a lot of Frank Sumption's boxes, how he would create an echo box, but the sound would dump into the bottom of the box and it would use reflection off of the inside of the box to create that natural reverb. That seemed very successful and it seemed very natural and warm and it retained the frequencies that came from the radio. We weren't taking anything away by hooking up multiple guitar pedals.
And he called that the echo chamber.
Right.
I have a bunch of those echo chambers.
Yes, you do.
Not every box I got from Frank had the spot for the echo chambers, but he didn't always send the echo chambers. So you would just use it as a regular box without the echo. But I like the echo on some of these boxes. Really enhances, like the one TV show I did back in long time ago, the show Mystery Hunters. It was Frank's Box 36. And on the back of you, so this big thing with it had like a water bottle cap on it, you know, a big metal container, and that was the echo chamber. So it was Velcro to the back of the thing, but it added just enough, a little bit of, it wasn't like that, hello, you know, right. That's annoying. I can't take that. But it would say hello, but all you would hear is like it sounded like a tin can, like the voice would come out of nowhere. Right. Like it's very trebly sounding, but it was easier for me to pick up the voices, the actual voices coming through, because they sounded different when they used it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was used to thicken or add presence to maybe what you'd call a thin sound, but it didn't actually create too much reflection where the frequencies were combining, and then there was ambiguity, and it was muddy and you couldn't tell what was going on. So he still retained so much of that raw audio signal that you could still phonetically hear clearly what was being said.
Yeah, and it was like an echo sound chamber. He had like it was weird. If you saw the inside of it, he had it was almost like a maze, and he had a microphone on each side. And I'm like backwards on my thing, so it's weird throwing me off. But yeah, so it was like the whole box was like here, and he had a microphone here and a microphone here, and then and in here it was like all it was like a maze going through there, and the sound would travel from one mic to the other mic, and then it would go out to the speaker again. So it would travel through this little maze. It's actually a pretty cool design. I don't know where he came from where he got that from.
That is really clever. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of speakers, especially subwoofers, will have that that sound chamber. It's just to carry the sound through.
So do mufflers in cars. Mufflers in cars have the same thing. Yeah.
Say hi to Seabass.
And it works really well.
Oh, very nice of you to join us.
All right, back down.
Katie's gonna get upset.
From what?
She's in Iowa, so.
Oh, right.
She's gonna be jealous.
She's got to be jealous for sure. She probably already misses the cats, so.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Muppet cat. Yep, she's already commenting. Yep.
Yeah, she looks. We have two cats. They look like Muppets. One looks like Fozzie Bear Muppet, and the other one, that's the daughter of that one. And we named it Sebastian because we thought it was a boy, and then found out it was a girl. So we just call her Seabass. I figure out who cares. I don't.
Oh, I like that. Oh, it's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute. Seabass. I like it.
So, what other things are you going to be working on here, Steve?
There's we got a bunch of different projects. Collectively we're working on. She's got a bunch. Her plate's a little more full than mine at the moment. I'm here and I'll be working on some stuff while she's away, but I'm waiting for parts. It's a story of my life. Waiting for radios, waiting for parts here, there. And especially if you don't get it, I pick everything from the United States now. So item location, I click US because I don't want to wait from China. I've gotten stuff, a bag of capacitors that I bought. I got them like 2.5 years later. I didn't even remember. I got them in the mail. It looked like this thing was kicked all the way from China. And I opened it up. I said, "What is this?" I don't remember ordering anything. I go, "Wow, when did I order these?" And I looked at the date on the package. It was like 2 years ago. I go, "Holy crap, this thing was definitely lost."
Oh yeah.
But if you were waiting for that to finish a radio or something like that, screwed. You would have never got it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Some of Katie's new projects are pretty awesome. The Forever Box, the Orion, and the Phoenix. Those are all pretty amazing designs that she's done.
Yeah, I like the fact that she took the reverse one step further with the adjustment. I like that because I did it. It's either forward or reverse, and hers is a potentiometer. It's a full blend. You could act full reverse or full forward, and then if you go in the middle, it's a blend between forward and reverse. Ooh, and it's all in one. She did that on her own. I said, "Holy crap, that's a great feature."
Yeah, that's incredible. I've never heard of that before. That's incredible.
And it's weird because when it's in the middle, you could actually hear. It's almost like they're talking to each other because you hear the forward, then you hear the reverse. So it's like you have twice as much time to, if they couldn't find the answer on forward,
right?
They have the chance to finish the message on reverse. So they'll start the message in forward. Like a lot of times when you're going over the audio, you'll hear a message and you'll say, "Steve, this is," and I'm like, "This is what? I don't know what this is." And you take "Steve, this is," and you flip it around and it'll say "Mark" or whatever. And that's the reverse of "Steve, this is." Yeah. So what you're doing when you're doing the live Ghost Box, you would hear "Steve, this is Mark." So you would hear the forward and then the reverse. It would all go together. Like you could have. It gives them more to work with.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I need to get like I said, I want to get your RCA box, and I want to get one of her Forever
That's
boxes.
incredible.
Yeah, we got 3 Forever boxes. One sold, one's out on loan, and we have one upstairs, and she has one almost made. It's got the Bigfoot on the cover. It's pretty cool, but that one's going to be sold already. It's being made for somebody. So,
Yeah.
it takes just so much time to do this, though.
Yes.
Oh, tell me about it. I know.
Well, and I was talking with Rob, I think it was last week. Not only have you been working on your own projects, Steve, and Katie, likewise, you've been working on your own projects, but over the years, I have some boutique boxes from builders that learned from you. In other words, you taught them the sweep circuit, you taught them this technology, and I wound up getting their boxes. So in a roundabout way, I kind of have several of your boxes.
Yeah, that's happened a lot over the years.
Right. And as a compliment to you, I don't mean to, I'm just saying that you've taught so many people. You're also a mentor, I guess is what I could say, because a lot of people turn to you or go to you to discuss the analog sweep, to discuss the analog radios, or any of the projects you're working on. And you've always been very much like Frank. You've shared that knowledge because it's coming from the right place. It's coming from your heart, and that speaks to your integrity as well.
I know, and a lot of people give me grief for doing that. They're like, oh, you don't, because what has happened over the years is, oh, I'm only going to build it. I'm going to build it for myself. I'm curious. I just go out on the weekends. I really want to learn how to do this stuff. And then they suck me right in. And then as soon as I tell them what to do, never hear from them ever again. Next thing you know, I see boxes on eBay. I see them getting sold. People are saying, sharing the information. No mention of me whatsoever. None. And I was like, what? I just helped this guy and he stuck it to me? And that's happened more than I would like to bring up, actually.
Well,
it happens a lot.
I can name a few of those guys, but I won't do that.
No, neither will I.
I didn't mean to, I don't want to call anyone out. What it is I'd rather put the energy and attention to you and say that you have mentored these people. I'm witness to it. I have many of those boxes. So I'm just going on record saying that, you have had a tremendous impact, not only in designing your own experiments, ghost boxes, ITC devices, but at the same time, mentoring people, not only to build these sweep circuits, but also encouraging them and saying, you can do it. You can do this too. And unfortunately we know in everything in life, those things aren't honored all the time. And it needs to be. And that's one of the reasons why, again, Rob and I wanted to start this podcast. We wanted to do Ghost Box Legends because the people that are really driving this industry need to be recognized. And I don't want to leave this earth knowing that these people aren't recognized. It's important to me. If that's my only role here, is just to facilitate a forum with Rob so you guys can come out here and tell your story. But I think it's important for our audience to know that you did contribute this time and you gave your time to people to teach them. And it's like Rich taught you and like Frank taught everyone else, or, Frank made this information public. And I think it's important to honor that integrity.
Right. I don't advertise it, but it has happened on occasion where people that built the boxes that are basically my box with their name on it, I've seen them and they've broken. And these people have disappeared off the planet. The box builders that copied my work. So what people do is they don't like, oh, I got this broken whatever box. And they said, can you help me fix it? And I'm like, oh, I know who made that box. And that's all my stuff in there. Yeah, sure. Send it to me. They send it to me. I opened it up. It looks really familiar to me. I go, boom, 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 done. I just fix it and send it back to them. I've done it a couple times. Like I said, I don't like to make a habit of it. But if I can help somebody out, I mean, that's just really sad that these people are selling people boxes and they don't stand behind their product. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
There was a couple of boxes that somebody built, and it's one of the same builders. They asked me to, if I could fix it for them. And I said, the perfect person, I said, I don't mind doing it, but the perfect person to fix it would be Steve. I said, hit him up on Facebook.
Don't send them my way. I don't want to do it.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Right.
No, that's a bad. Don't send them to me because you know what? I offered to fix a box for one of the famous guys. I won't say he's a ITC researcher. But he's in the field. He sent me one of his boxes and I said, I'll take a look, see if I can fix it. It was a million pieces when I got it in the mail. I said, this thing, you didn't put any packing in it. It was all shattered to pieces. Oh, you stole my box. I can't believe you stole it. I said, I did no such thing. I glued it all back together. I even paid to ship it back to him. I said, here you go. Take it back. I don't even want it. But yeah, that's that actually happened, and that's sad because that's when you try to help people. That's what happens.
I think that, that anyway, the person that I sent over your way was a couple of years ago.
You're right, Katie.
So it might have been the same person we were talking about. I think I know who it was, but anyway.
Oh, it's the popular guy. You know the popular guy.
Oh no, I know. But what was what's sad was because everybody was pretty much using the same analog circuit was a Velman FM circuit.
Yeah.
That they were
Yeah,
selling.
yeah, that was the first one I ever did was that Velman FM circuit.
Yeah, so Andy was using it. There was a lot of people using it. So
Model A and Model E, Andy's box, right?
yeah. And anyway, no, it was sad because that was a great board to learn on.
Christina.
I just saw that. But yeah, it was a great the little FM kits when I used to get them, they were like $10.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were originally was it MK something? The model number almost came to me. MK 184 or something like that. I don't know what it was.
Oh, God, that does sound familiar. Yeah.
It sounds. I think it's MK something. That's what's ringing a bell with me.
But
they were selling them at Radio Shack on the clearance rack for $10. So I bought it. That was my first custom box I ever made. Before that, I was just doing off the shelf radios and adding sweep circuits to it. Real quick funny story with Rich. The first radio he ever sent me, he says, "Oh, you like this? So yeah, whatever. I'll send it to you." So he sends it to me. I turned it on. I said, "It doesn't work." This is when he's a good teacher. He wanted me to get into building ghost boxes, and I said, "Yeah, I don't think I could do the ghost box thing. That's not really my thing." "Oh, you could do it. You definitely could do it. It's real positive. Pumps you up, makes you feel like you can do anything, Rich. So he sends it to me. I plug it in. It doesn't work. I said, "It doesn't work, Rich." "What? I was working here. It was working great." He says, "Maybe you should open up, take a look around." He purposely left a wire off. So I had to go in there and fix the wire. And he says, "See, I told you could do it."
I love it.
And that's how I started.
Oh, that was great, Rich. That's fantastic. It's a
Frank
great learning
did
method.
the same thing. Frank would send me boxes, missing parts. He used to do the same thing.
And it's encouraging because they're basically saying there may be one or two things you need to fix, but kind of doing it slowly like that brings your confidence up, because every time you solve one problem or one issue, you get more confident, you desire more, and you want to be challenged more. So it kind of starts that cycle. That's fantastic. That really is.
Because I opened it up, because I looked at it and I just saw a wire hanging there. He says, "Where do you think that might go?" Figure it out. So I did, and wasn't really much on soldering or anything like that. So I just kind of looked around, but looking around and seeing the components and where the wires are going showed me where the wires need to go. So now the next time I got a radio, once I started building my own, I sort of knew where the wires were going because I knew it from opening up that radio. And if he sent it to me without that wire broken, I would have never opened up the radio. I would have never looked at it, and I never would have built a box.
Wow. And I knew Rich, I don't know how public he is to speak of, but I always knew he was behind the scenes helping a lot of people. In the 2000s, I always heard his name and I saw he was generous in helping people and encouraging. But it seemed like, if I may, Steve, and you can speak to this more accurately, he seems like an unsung hero in that time period or with the
He doesn't even take credit for anything. And I give him all the credit. He helped me more than anybody out there. And but he's so humble. He's just like,
right.
I just knew you could do it, man. I knew you could do it. He's just such a low down to the ground guy, regular guy.
Well, he's definitely, when I was making the list of Ghost Box legends, Rich Georgina's name, was on that list. It couldn't not put him on that list. And I don't know what the probability of, interviewing him or getting him on the show would be, but at the same time, we still want to just bring his name out and say, Rich had a huge part of the Ghost Box creation, improvement, and obviously teaching a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a hard one to get Rich on a radio. He doesn't do radio shows.
Oh, I understand. Sure.
Recently, I even told him he should probably do a couple things. He says, "It's not my thing. I'm not into it."
I understand. Right.
Frank did the same thing. Mm-hmm. Frank wouldn't do any radio. He did coast to coast. I mean, that was a nationwide show. Right. But he called in once, Frank, and while Chris Boone was on, and he talked for a little while, and then he was on another time with Bill Murphy. They were both on at the same time, and then Frank did my show. I think that was the only shows he ever did. You know, he did Darkness Radio, Coast to Coast, and he did my radio show, my RTSC Talk Radio back in the day.
Right.
I think that was the only 3 shows he ever did.
That was like 2009, 2010, right?
Yeah, about that time, sure.
I've seen that show. I've watched those old shows. I was watching them back in the day. I'm trying to get my bearings on time, but God, that was over a decade ago. Jeez.
And it's funny because that Darkness Radio with Dave Schrader, when they did it, it was Bill Murphy and Frank on that show, and all they did was they played all my files. They asked me if I had files I could give them they could use, and they even said they were all my files. So I followed up with Dave Schrader. I said, hey man, they use my files and stuff like that. If you're ever interested in doing a Ghost Box show, you know, I'll let you know what I do and what I've done, stuff like that. He goes, I already did that show. I'm not doing another one. I was like, wow.
Oh,
Like a kick in the nuts. You know what I mean? And I haven't liked the guy since. I thought that was so rude. That was a long time ago. It was like 10 years ago, and it still bothers me.
Yeah, a word of advice in life: don't burn bridges. Just if you can avoid burning bridges, you should have said, well, you know what, we'll do that show in the future. For someone like me, I mean, or just you keep those doors open, especially with the research. I mean, I'm sure he's kicking himself now, considering everything you've worked on, everyone you've mentored, all of your creations. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, I probably should have had Steve come back on the show. But I
thought it would have been a good segue, being that they used my files, my Ghost Box files on the show. Frank himself used my files on the show. I thought he would have said, oh, those were your files? Oh, yeah, I got to learn more about what you're doing. You know what I mean? That's what I was expecting to hear from him.
Sure.
Oh, exactly. Right.
Well, now you have time to come on our show. So we don't,
There you go.
Yeah, you come here because you can play your files here and we can talk about what you're working on here. So you're welcome here anytime, man.
And if you want to show off your boxes, whatever, anything you guys want to show off, you have an open platform here. You have
we'll have stuff coming down the pike sooner or later. I mean, it's just basically finishing up projects at the moment. I'm working on a bat detector modification. Josh, you know about that.
You messaged me about that, and I thought about the implications of that and the frequency. I'm going, oh my gosh, that's ingenious. I never would have thought to use that.
But the one I was working on, I took it all apart and stuff, and I had it working, you know, just in my hands. You know, I had a pile of parts in my hands, and I was listening to it, and it actually sounded really weird. Like, it's got the built-in microphone, so it's basically when you're amplifying the unit, it's actually picking up your voice, which it really shouldn't, because it's supposed to be picking up ultrasonic frequencies. But if you amplify it that high, it does get some bleed over, and the bleed over causes almost like that DR60, the Panasonic DR60, like that kind of sound. Right. And it actually sounds like they're trying to communicate. And I said, oh man, I think I'm onto something here. So I went to go I wanted to take it, add the switches, put it all in its nice new case and everything. Broke the switch. So now I got to wait a week to get another one.
And you got to wait for parts too now.
Yeah, but see, now the thing is, you know, what happens to that thing that was like $60, you know, and then I broke it. So now I got to make another one. So now how much do you sell the thing for if you keep breaking stuff? You can't have somebody else pay for your mistakes that you broke 10 radios before you got one working one. So you just lose the money. That's all. You just lose it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can't imagine the money that's been invested in, you know, I've seen Rob's trash can and the circuits he's burned through. And Steve, I can only imagine over the decade, like you just said, broken switches, or, you know, what's your trash can, or how many circuits you've burned through?
I'm close to the kitchen where my bench is, so I just walk in there and throw it in the garbage. But when I started, I had my first home tuner. I hooked up to I didn't realize I was looking for 12 volts on the board. So I thought originally that I was supposed to hook the sweep circuit up to the power supply, and I hooked it up to 110. And as soon as I turned it on, the board shot across the room like a firework went off. And I go, where did it go? I'm looking around. I'm like, where did the thing go? And I started smelling it. My floor was on fire. I have hardwood floors. And it was I picked the thing up, I put it out, there was a hole in there the size of a bullet wound in this thing. It just blew a hole right through it, and it shot it across the room, and it was on fire. That's how you learn. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
OSHA would not approve of a ghost box builder's home and or work area. There would be violations left and right because things are flying off the bench at light speed. And I that's what I'm saying. The stories you guys have that I've heard, not the blood, sweat, and tears, obviously, but just those stories alone are worth a show. Just hearing about that.
The shocks, you never get used to getting shocked. Trust me.
Shocked, yeah. Right. Yeah, that's yeah. There's a lot of stuff that goes on when you're building stuff. But then you know what? You know what not to do the next time. That's
Exactly.
But my pile of radios and stuff, like I said, you buy the radios, they don't work or they're defective or whatever it is, I throw it in the corner. Then I get another piece, throw it in the corner. I got this other project, I'll go back to it later, throw it in the corner. My corner is like 7 foot tall now. I got like a pile of rubbish, just sitting in the corner. And I don't even know what I'm ever going to do with all the stuff. I'd have to go through it all one by one. And at this point, whatever's at the bottom of that pile, that was probably 10, 12 years ago. I don't even know what that is anymore.
Right.
Or why it's there.
Yeah. It's been a decade. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I just want people to recognize in terms of when you create the ghost box, what goes into it, even including the stories of the board shooting across the room or the pile in your corner that essentially, is from rubbish and recycled parts over the years. There's so much that goes behind this, the trial and error, and that's an understatement, but the trial and error that's involved in building a boutique box is incredible. I'd love to hear more of these stories at some point.
At least Katie did it a little better than I did it. Like, I just sit there and I go, all right, I broke it, but I can salvage all these switches, the speakers, the knobs. I can salvage all this stuff. I'll just put it in the corner. I'll come back to it. I'll do that tomorrow or the day after. That never comes. She does it. She has a pile. She steals all the parts, and she's got bins for everything now. Speakers, switches, stuff like that. She does it, gets it done, puts it in a bin, and it's organized looking. I don't have any organization skills here. No,
oh, me neither. Well, Katie says her favorite thing with box building is her glue gun bursting into flames.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah. That was probably my fault. I like to buy glue guns at the dollar store.
Oh, of course. Yeah. You're going through them 3 a day, probably.
It was good enough for me because I don't use a lot of hot glue. So, and the plunger thing doesn't really work. You got to push the glue thing at the end. There's another story for you. But then you're burning your hand at the other end and while you're pushing it. And anyway, so that's the crappy thing that she was using. But hers actually caught fire. It burned her, right? I think she said it burned her.
Yeah. It said it went up in flames. I don't know if it
went up in flames. Yeah, I think she got burnt.
Yeah, she told me that the day it happened that she got burned.
Yeah, and I think she gave it back to me too. I don't even think she threw it out. I think she just gave it back to me.
Steve, Ben is saying he just sent you money to hold a forever box. He wants us to tell you that.
Ben Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yes, I spoke to him earlier, and he's very interested in a forever box, and I think he's interested in eventually getting an Orion as well, ITC talker. So that's good. We got quite a bit made here. You know what it is? We had a. It's like a roller coaster. You sit there and you're like, oh, people are interested, and then they're not interested, and then but when they're not interested in your down spell, that's when you're building. Yep. So then by the time you get into an upswing again, you got a whole pile full of radios that's sitting here, which is a good problem to have because if somebody wants one the other day, they messaged me and I said, yep, get it right out. They messaged me at like noon. I had a thing shipped out by like 1, nice. Because it was already made and set and ready to go. I just got it right out. Except for you, Josh, when I shipped you the radio, your radio was lost in transit for like a month.
That was, you guys had some storms back east and it was literally caught right at the distribution center nearest you. That was basically in the heart of the storm. It basically sat there for a while. So, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. I was admittedly anxious. I really wanted to use the Dream Sky, but there's nothing you can do. I mean, and those guys are working hard enough in that weather. So, I mean, what can you do? It's got to be patient. Yeah,
I mean, and it stinks because I ship FedEx.
That's right.
And I ship FedEx, and what you call it, I have pretty good success, 2-3 days tops, no matter where in the United States. So when she said you didn't get it yet, I said, no, I haven't had any problems with FedEx. Of course, you're going to be my first problem. You know,
of course, it's only right. It was a test, of patience and trust, and we passed that test mutually. So
did it look like the box was like kicked from one side, from the East Coast to the West Coast?
It was in perfect condition. I'm not kidding.
Weird.
Everything was in perfect condition. Radio works perfectly. That's what was so strange. It was just held at that distribution center due to probably the freezing weather. And I understand. I mean, there's not a lot you can do in that situation.
Yeah, coming from the East Coast, it goes through Memphis, so Memphis just gets shut down during storms.
Yeah.
So everything just sits there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Memphis. They were getting hit with those. It was ice cold there, right? That was the one where Texas. It was like 10 degrees in Texas.
Exactly. So basically, half the country was frozen in ice. So there's not. What are you going to do? I mean, it is what it is. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. It made it that there was no instant gratification, that excitement build up. So when I use it, it was just that much more special. So everything worked out great. Yeah. So,
I don't, what I'm going to have to start doing more of is set schedule. Like when I test stuff, I go out there and I make a little video. I go, oh, just 1-2 minute video. Hey, anybody there? Yeah, yes, no, Steve. Hey, I heard Steve. Thanks. Just testing it, making sure it works. But after all this time, I've run out of things to ask them. Has anybody else had that problem? Where you just kind of like, how many times did they say, what color shirt am I wearing? What's this on my face? Glasses. Right? You know what I mean? It's just, they must get tired of listening to our stupid questions. But they're not stupid, because to me, we don't hear them. I don't know how they hear us. They may hear us perfectly.
Right. And I think they, based on the responses I've gotten, and again, this isn't fact, this is just my experience, it seems like they can hear us clearer and better than we can hear them.
And that's what the problem is, because you could ask all the questions you want. Nice. Give me some technical advice. What do I need to do next? Give me the tech stuff.
Right.
And that's what I would really love to ask them. And I have asked them that stuff in the past. And what the response I get back, I'm like, I can't make it out. Because I don't hear, if they're hearing me crystal clear and they knew exactly what to answer, I really wish they were able to talk just like I talked. But then I guess you don't need a radio. Right. You need something else.
Right. Yeah. That's a really good point, because I think as long as we've been doing this, and I'm not I don't build ghost boxes. My research is involved in other devices. But at the same time, there is a point where, I didn't know exactly what to ask. And we almost have a personal relationship now, in the sense that when I turn on a ghost box, they'll say, he's back, bummer, kind of pulling my pigtails. And then I kind of laugh, and then I hear them laugh, because I've already asked the questions I can ask over the years. So now it's just like, oh, he's back, bummer. And we kind of laugh, I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's kind of where I'm at with the communication now. It's very casual. The formality's gone.
It's very, like there was like times where, can you tell me whom I need to talk to? So-and-so, I need to ask questions. I need to do this. And then I'm listening, I'm going over the recording, and I hear, I love chocolate ice cream. And I'm like, oh, well, that didn't answer anything. Like what? But it was clear.
Right.
But it didn't answer anything I asked. So what does that have to do? And that's when I started reversing stuff, because sometimes you hear something really odd like that. But that segment that said, I love chocolate ice cream, when you reverse that segment, your answer might have been on the flip side of that.
Exactly. Review is so important. And from my background as an audio engineer, I mean, help me, Steve, here, but maybe we hear good responses 5 to 10% of the time live, but upon replay, I mean, we hear so much more. And different decibel levels, and replaying the session is so important with all of our evidence.
Yeah, what I do, I mean, I'm old school with, I got Cool Edit, which was you do, so Cool Edit,
of course.
But that's what I've always used since I've been doing this. But I like the fact that I could do it in chunks. See, I don't do. I know people do 30-40 minute ghost box sessions. I'm like, why would you do that?
It's like a week.
You have to go over it now, right? You have to go over it.
Right.
And it takes, I mean, I do a 5-minute session. 5-minute session takes me a half hour to go over if I blast right through it. And I just pick out the stuff that jumps out to me. But I'm not doing more than 5 minutes. There's no way. And I do it in segments. So when you're going over a review, you take the little clip, maybe like 10, 15 seconds. You ask a question, you wait for an answer or whatever. You take that clip, maybe 15 seconds, and then you put that in the audio editor. And now you got 15 seconds to work with instead of 5 minutes. It seems like there's light at the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Somebody wants to know what program do you use to review? Me personally, I use Audacity or WavePad.
All excellent.
Or
all excellent. Audacity is great. Yeah.
No, Audition, not Audacity. Adobe Audition.
Yeah, Adobe Audition. That's what Cool Edit was.
Yeah,
I'm used to that format. I like it. I'm used to it. I know where the tabs are. I can breeze right through my recordings. I don't have to learn anything new. You know.
Right. Well, and you don't have to purchase an expensive software program to review this. I use Pro Tools because it's part of my job and career as well. So I have access to it, so I use it. But Pro Tools is overkill for review. You don't need, Apple Logic or Pro Tools or Ableton Live. You can use Audacity, Cool Edit, and that's exactly what you need. You can view the waveform, you can see what's going on, and you can analyze, you can interpret and analyze from that point.
I've used Audacity before. That worked. It's perfect. It does everything you want it to do.
Exactly.
For going over a Ghost Box session. Everything's there. And it's free. So
I was going to say, yeah, you don't need to invest in expensive software to do this or to review. It's patience and perseverance and dedication. That's what it takes. If you can do that, then you're going to find success in your replay value of your sessions.
There's another Gold Wave. Gold Wave is another popular one that's free that people use. That's got all the features that you need too.
I haven't used that, but I've heard of it, and I've heard good things about it. I don't have any experience with it.
Yeah, I was able to get in there one day, and I was able to see now. Cool Edit's weird because when I slow the file down, I can only slow it down so much because then it starts going like it sounds weird. Right. You can only go so much with the slowing down, but there's like Sound Stretcher. I think back in the day, you were able to stretch it out, and it would still sound exactly normal. It would just be slower, and it would sound so clear, so much more clear. I don't even think I have that program anymore. It's gone. I don't know where it is.
Audition has, or Audacity has a couple of things you could slow it down, and it's free. I'll start using Pro Tool or Logic.
Yeah, in Logic they have, in some of these programs, they have the digital pitch control that will slow it down, but it doesn't alter the pitch. So that, like you said, Steve, it's really nice to slow that down, but it retains all of the original amplitudes of the individual frequencies. So
and that's the most important part.
Right, exactly. So if you could slow it down but still retain the waveform, yes, then you can hear when they speak fast or you're using a fast sweep, you can hear that fragmentative or breakthrough communication a lot cleaner and clearer.
Yes. Got to be a way. Well, see, how many people go over sessions, do a session, go over it, and post files? It's almost like a dinosaur. I mean, I do it on occasion. I used to do it for the show when I did it, so I'd have files to play every week, and I still go over my own sessions or whatever. But everybody just does the videos now. Everybody just does that. Me seems like more work. If I were to do a video and have to annotate and put on the screen every single thing that I'm hearing or whatever, I'd be there 10 times longer than if I just went over the audio myself.
But see, here's the bad thing about annotating, and this is something that I have always said. You're already leading the listener to what they're
leading the witness.
Yeah, exactly. And you really don't want to do that. Just leave it raw audio, not cleaned up. Just leave it as is. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna teach you on how to review audio when you're doing ITC work.
Right. Yeah, I don't like listening to files that sound weird to me. They're probably not, but when you hear files that it almost sounds like they're just pieced together, and it just, I don't know. I mean, they're out there. I mean, I'm not saying that they are pieced together, but when some of these people, when they do the audio editing, they're cutting out so much noise to make the file sound better. It almost sounds like a roller coaster. It's like the sound goes up and down and up and down. It just sounds, I'm like, I never heard a ghost box sound that way to me ever
Nope.
in my life. You know, and that's, if somebody bought that same ghost box, they'd say my files don't sound anything like your files. You
Right.
know,
Well,
and
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, but that's what you do. That's why I do everything as is. I do the video. I don't edit anything. The audio I do. I don't really, I just clip out the segment because I want somebody to get my radio and say, yes, I'm hearing it just like you hear it. It sounds exactly the same way as your files. And I'm like, that's how it should sound,
Yeah.
because I don't.
Because
But
I think when you do that, you're false advertising. So people selling a box, they're going to clean up their audio, and then they're going to get and say, like you said, wait, this sounds nothing like what the video did. And then they're going to be, they're going to be upset. They're going to get the product and they're like, this isn't what you sold me. And
false advertising, basically.
Right.
exactly. And that's exactly right. There's certain box builders out there that do that. And it's crazy. But
in fact, come to think of it, the two of you are on the show right now, and you might be the two only ghost box builders that have actually successfully live streamed your creations so everyone can hear it live, unaffected, unedited, raw. I can't think of anyone else, because Steve, you have tremendous streaming experience, and Rob, you're doing your Saturday shows, 4-hour shows.
I think my first live stream I ever did was 2008.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
And you, I don't know, are you still doing your streaming of your boxes?
It's going right now as we speak.
Isn't it on Paranormal, right?
Well, it's also, he asked me if he could put the link up there. Yeah. It's ghostboxlive.com. If Katie wants to put that in the chat, ghostboxlive.com. It's a no frills. I mean, it's basically the live reverse ghost box that I had running when I had the app and all that stuff. So it's the same radio. It's reverse speech. It's AM, and it's live upstairs above my head here, and it's free. It's free to anybody that wants to use it and see what you can get, and it does work well. It really does.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was the first one I streamed at. I used to do it on holidays. Back when I had my radio show. So I think 2008, I think it was like Christmas 2008 was the first time I said, I wonder if I could plug a ghost box in. That way everybody can listen to it. And it had a chat. I plugged it in, turned it on. I had a chat room. I came home Christmas Eve or whatever it was, and I had a chat room was filled. People were writing what they were hearing and stuff like that. I said, whoa, that's pretty cool, man. People are actually in here using it.
Right. And I remember even years later, I used to work very late when I was grunting as an audio engineer and doing the late night work that no one wanted to do, the gridding to Pro Tools, which is fun. I would have your live streams on in the background where you had your forward box, your reverse box, and then you alternated the third channel between the 12587 and Frank's 120.
Yes. Yeah, that was that app with the live ghost box app. And there was that was so unused by many out there. I'm glad that you did use it. But
Steve, I'm sitting in a studio with near field and midfield studio monitors that are probably worth more than my car, with Frank's box 120 coming at me, and I'm in the center of a perfectly, sound deadened, and we're talking about psychoacoustics later. The room was perfectly controlled. When that went away, I went, oh no, what am I going to do at work at night? It was a big concern in my life. It really hit home when that. I mean, I know the expense and the time you put into that, but I really appreciated that, and I did not take it for granted. And the 12587 came through so clear on that live stream. I loved it.
Yeah, and that was just I should have hooked up the other one to it. I have you like the 12587? That's not one of my favorite hacks I've done, but I know it's very popular out there.
It sounded. I always had an easy time listening to it, and it sounded great coming through studio monitors. But yeah, I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I certainly enjoyed it.
No, it seems to be one of the main favorites that everybody. It's not one of my favorites, but a lot of people out there like it. They call it the holy grail of hack boxes.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
The 587 that I made, that I added a sweep circuit to, that's pretty cool. Because I actually, it's a 587, but instead of using it as a hack, I added a sweep circuit to it, and you can actually, it's fully adjustable, AM and FM.
Now you're talking. I mean, that literally is supercharging that radio because it does come through clear. You do get good signal. And if you, with an adjustable sweep, I mean, that's a very effective ghost box. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sitting in the other, I gotta start getting rid of some stuff. Anybody wants that thing, hit me up, private
Ooh.
message me.
We have to talk about that one. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it's a 587 with the sweep circuit on there, but I got so many, boxes that I made that I'm never going to use all of them. So I really got to start cleaning stuff up. I mean, I keep my stuff like the Frank's boxes. I got Joe's box number 1, still sitting here, and that's I toy around with that every now and then. I have rare stuff. That's the stuff I keep. The stuff I make, I'll keep it for a little while, but then it's got to go. It's got to go. I mean, how many boxes? I don't need 100 of my own boxes.
Right. No, I see your point.
Even though they work, what am I going to do with them all?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you could essentially build yourself one at any time, barring the parts are available. So you're kind of like, well, I don't need this one because if I want another one, I'll just build another one.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I'm like, okay, this is the only one I have. I was going to keep it for myself, but some guy wants it. I'll just order more. I order more, and then I ship that out, and then I wait.
Right.
So.
No, that makes sense.
But anyway, let me skedaddle, guys. I know you guys got bored of the show. I'll probably kick back and listen a little bit while I'm getting ready for bed.
All right.
Thank you for your time. And again, anytime you want to come on, I know the show's late for you, but don't even ask. Just let us know you want to make it on, and we'll have a good time. But thank you for taking the time tonight to come on the show.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. And plus, we're still looking at moving the show to an earlier time for you guys. So I know it's hard for you East Coast folk, but
we're it's a little bit late out here. And if it wasn't, I mean, I'm happy to come on and do this anytime with you guys. But it's just I only got a couple hours sleep last night, bringing Katie to the airport, and then I only got a couple hours sleep, so I'm running on empty here. So,
all right.
It was
Thanks
a great
for coming on.
Great time. Thank you, Steve.
All right, no problem. You guys have a good night.
You too. Be well.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Well, that was quite a surprise,
guys. That was Mr. Holte.
Wow.
And Mr. Holte is in the chats.
Whew. I really didn't think he'd make it on.
I didn't think so either, but that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've had them on the Ghost Box Legend series, again, not because of everything that he's created or worked on, but he's also mentored and helped a lot of people. And Katie obviously has been noted as the brains of the operation. And, I feel like Katie's leading the next charge of so much of this Ghost Box research. So it's definitely, if you're new to the show, please contact Holte Paranormal, get a hold of Steve and Katie. And borrowing, they have the time and the parts. Obviously, we heard the issue with the shipping parts from overseas. They will make you the most incredible boutique ghost boxes. And we'll have others on the show in the future that are also doing, great work and similar type of work. And we'll get you in touch with them as well and really get these people to the forefront. I mean, Rob, we didn't even talk to a lot of these Ghost Box legends. Do they even want to be in the forefront? I mean, maybe we should have asked them first before we just led this, this charge into the wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we were like, okay. And now I'm thinking like, maybe we should have asked their permission first or see if they even wanted to be recognized. I don't know.
Yeah. No, Katie, I totally feel your pain. I mean, when you start building ghost boxes, it's a lot of work and it's very costly. People don't realize how costly it can get. Just because you're doing your own R&D, everything's coming back out of your own pocket, all of that. So it's not easy.
No, it's very costly. And again, Rob, I've witnessed what you're working on, and my research is involved in other devices, but I've seen how much time and effort and energy you've put into it, and it's tremendous. I've seen your trash cans. I've seen the amount of testing and R&D you've gone through to get your box where it is. And Ben's saying he wants to talk about your ghost box a little. So would you like to discuss that, or is that?
I mean, my box is it's a quiet circuit. So basically, it's an FM linear sweep box that has no static while sweeping. And it actually has a mode where you can just turn it basically where you won't even hear it sweep. The only thing you're going to hear coming through is responses. We call that the direct communication mode.
Yeah, we've been playing around with acronyms for that. Or
Yeah.
I say
So
we, it's your box, but you know how I like to be pushy and insert
no,
myself in your
but
business.
you're the one that discovered it. I didn't even know it existed because I never turned it, the sweep on that fast. So yeah, if you turn the sweep all the way up, it goes into that mode where you just don't even you don't hear sweeping anymore. You'll just hear responses coming through. Um and it's not as frequent as you would think. It's weird on how it works. You would think it's sweeping and it's going to pick up every frequency when it hits, a broadcast or something or whatever it's picking up. But no, that's not the case. It just sometimes it's for a few minutes. Sometimes it says a word every 10 seconds, every 20 seconds, whatever. It's just random. It's weird.
Well, in the sweep circuit, or it's a pulse generator essentially. So the communication comes in at the peak of the pulse, basically at a certain decibel level. So it really does. It's an effective way of blocking out the sweeping through timing, essentially, rather
Right.
than trying to add pedals to it. We're working with time and frequency, phase, inversion, things like this. So
So
your box is
basically it goes like it goes in it's basically a triangle.
right,
So it's gonna peak and then drop,
right,
peak and then drop.
right,
Um so you're gonna hear the response at the peak and then it's gonna fade away and then it'll
right.
go back up to the peak and then it'll fade away. Basically that's how it works. But no, absolutely no static.
Right.
The only time you're gonna hear static is if it's trying to pull something in, and it's like a radio. If you're trying to if it's pulling something in and there's nothing there, you're gonna hear static. But if you're in an area where, like with me, I have my antenna connecting to my ground wire for the house, so that's basically I'm using the house wiring or the house plumbing actually as the antenna.
Right.
So
Literally, yeah.
I'm literally getting, anything that's in the area coming through and I get no static ever.
Right.
So it's crazy.
Yeah. Your box design is fantastic. Everywhere I've had it, I've had no static. Only one time, I think it was because there was literally power wires above me. There was so much RF interference that, I mean, it was almost anything in this area uh, would have been distorted to some some degree. But I've had perfect reception with your box everywhere I've taken it.
Right. And the funny thing is, so here's the thing, like with my boxes. So I can do a ghost box session and not get anything. Um I can do three, not get anything.
It
On
happens.
my Saturday broadcast, it's like I don't know if it's the energy, if
Yeah.
it's part of my psychokinesis pulling in, being part of it. There's a lot of things that are happening. I don't know if it's an energy from the audience that's pulling that I
I
is helping me bring that communication
I
through.
think it is, Rob. You
I
know,
mean that's what I'm thinking also, but I don't know that. I can't say that's definitely what is happening,
right.
but I think there is something to that.
I and again, I can't prove anything. It's all
I
theory.
can't either. Why
Right.
it's
But
happening, I don't know. But that's the only thing that I can think of is it's my
right.
psychokinesis is helping that communication.
That,
And the
yeah.
audience is also I'm feeding off of the audience's energy. And that's
And
what's
yeah.
helping with all of this breakthrough communication.
And the clarity of your box. And so there's all these variables, like Ben is saying, it's just aligned right. Everything is
Yeah.
aligned perfectly. And who was a really big proponent of this was Ron Ricketts of
Right.
paranormalsystems.com in the mini box. And he exclaimed when he was working on this device, when he'd work on it alone, he would get good communication. But then some other team members would come in. And he remembers the first time they all sat in a circle or got together and there was 5, 6, 7 people in the room and the box went nuts. The communication, well, the success of the mini box alone is tremendous. But when
Right.
you add people and the energy, the communication was crazy, and people were hearing their nicknames and their loved ones, and it was just magnified by that much. And he really said it's really got to be the perfect storm. And I
No,
think that's what your
I
Saturday shows have. They have the perfect storm.
and I think so. Just for all of the responses that come through, it's mind blowing. I mean, just
Right.
with the questions that are being asked, and for those people to get the responses from somebody that has passed, and only they would know
Yeah.
these answers that we're getting are being pulled through, and then
Right.
they start like literally crying because
Yeah.
they were like, oh my god, that was my husband, that's exactly who I was trying to bring through. And then they said, and then they would say, here's why. And then we were like, holy crap, those words did come through, and they were like,
Right.
yeah, they were all relevant to the question that they asked.
Hmm.
So it's just crazy.
Yeah, and that's, you and I, Rob, and our colleagues, we don't make any promises or guarantees of who or what we're talking to, but a lot of people outside of this community who know of our research approach us and say, I would like to try to contact my deceased loved one. And as we say, we can't promise or guarantee anything. They still want to try, and they get what is satisfying for them. They hear a pet nickname or something that's private or something that no one else would know. And like you said, they may start crying or reacting, and we ask why, and then they explain. And again, we can't say for sure. We just can't offer that type of guarantee. But at the same time, there's so much evidence that points to how would these voices know this personal private information, especially in a group setting with all of that energy. And I've noticed that on your Saturday shows, there's a lot of personal information coming through, nicknames, proving that, this communication is intelligent, or there's some type of consciousness to it. There's an awareness of not only our lives in general, but the micro details of our lives and the private things in our lives.
Yeah, it's crazy. Are there any
Great
times
question.
that are taken aback? I'm always blown away by stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
there's still nothing that um I'm not surprised about.
Right.
Still, I mean, there's something always happens every week. I mean, yes, I'm grateful that I get to do ITC sessions every weekend on Saturdays. Um, and coming from an ITC skeptic, I think that says a lot, because I used to say this all the time. Um, ITC, it's just listening to a broken radio, scanning through radio frequencies,
Right.
or through frequencies in general. That was my biggest thing. Once started doing a lot of meditation, a lot of listening to frequency audio, and doing a lot of meditation into a black mirror. I think that that's what started my communication with spirit, and then just something. It was just a natural occurrence happened. I started using the ghost box, and then I was just like, yeah, this is a broken radio. But then
Right.
certain things were coming through, names were coming through, dates were
Right.
coming through, um, events that happened were coming through. And then, so I was recording everything and taking notes. And
Mhm.
then I was actually doing research at a location, at a jail. So I had full access to that jail 24/7. Um,
Right.
and so there was a time there I was going there every weekend. Um, and then sometimes I'd go, leave, go take a shower, go back, just because the activity was crazy and the communication was crazy. So the once I started comparing my notes, and then things were coming up, talking to a historian, they were talking about, where are you getting this information? This isn't public knowledge. And then I was
Right.
like, well, this is what I'm doing. Then they were like, what? That's coming from a radio? And basically they were like, holy crap,
Right.
this isn't documented. So whatever you're getting, I don't know how you're getting it, but these are facts that you're getting. So that just
Right.
made a lot of things crazy for me anyway.
And I think we all need to remember, and sometimes I need to remind myself how you receive that information through the radio. so much when we hear radio, we automatically think FM, AM, our favorite morning show, whatever rock song or hip hop song or electronic songs coming on the radio. But radio waves are part of our universe. It's a part of our EM spectrum. So we're concerned about researching. I mean, this, you know, essentially penetrates the universe and possibly other dimensions. So these radio waves are so much more than AM band, FM band, shortwave, medium wave, long wave, whatever you want to research. I mean, there's people researching 222 kilohertz in long wave. You know, so when we talk about radio waves, I think people think we're just scanning the stations that we can hear that's local to us, but we're actually looking at everything. We're looking at all frequencies. So radio, it makes sense that radio could be a very popular medium, the radio frequency, the EM spectrum. You know, that's not crazy to think about. And we have to remember that EVP essentially is ITC. We're using a recorder, an instrument to pick up electronic voice phenomena. And these two things went hand in hand with Dr. Konstantin Radova, Frederick Jurgensen. I mean, interfrequency recording was around as early as EVP because they understood that we were looking into the EM spectrum. It was so much more than scanning AM and FM. So there's so much more to the radio and how it, you know, I'm not surprised it's a popular medium for engaging in instrumental transcommunication.
Yeah, and like what Kevin said, why do you think sweeping is necessary? I don't think it is necessary. And that's kind of what Josh was just talking about.
It's not
Um,
necessary.
and when you're using, shortwave or wave radio, and that's why, I have, like one of these radios,
Right.
because it has those type of capabilities,
Right.
and it has different channels for shortwave, and so you're playing around with different
Right.
frequencies. So and like I said, playing around with um high frequency recordings, and I picked up voices from there, and it happens quite often, even if you're listening to the app Com Radio. This isn't a
Mhm.
plug for Com Radio at all, but I use it for to sleep. Now there's a station on there. It's called like Beach Waves or something like that.
Mhm.
I was listening to that one night, or I fell asleep to it. And those of you that do not know my house, there's four spirits here. One is a little girl. The first time that I realized that there was a little girl here, I was listening to Com Radio, and in the radio waves, I mean, it was literally waves, recording of sound of waves crashing on the beach. Um, I heard what it sounded like a little girl, and I was like, "The hell!" And it woke me up, and I said, "Okay, maybe I was dreaming." And I heard it again, clear as day. She was asking for help. And I was like, "Holy crap, it's coming from the radio. What the hell? This is just recording of waves." Then all of a sudden, it came from in front of my bed, at the foot of my bed.
Mhm.
So I turned over, and then I saw her standing there. So um and then after that, I kind of heard her a few times coming through the ghost box. Um and my ghost box was powered off. And I was like, "What the hell?"
Right.
And I went checked the box, and it was off. And then I walked away, and she said it again. I'm over here. And yeah, it was coming from the box,
Yeah.
and it was off. So it was just really
Wow.
strange. But
It's
anyway,
incredible. Yeah.
yeah.
Steve Holte just said the bat detector he's working with, the comment dropped. I believe it was 10 kilohertz to 200 kilohertz.
Mhm.
I can't see the comment anymore, but I believe it. I mean, we're talking very high. You know,
Now, wasn't now, and I was going to ask Steve when he was here. Didn't somebody used to? Wasn't there a bat detector um sold a while back? This was back, God, in the early 2000s, maybe. I don't know.
I don't remember a bat detector that early. The first time I've heard of it was from Steve. In terms of it being used for this purpose, it's
Yeah,
possible it's been
but
used before. It's possible.
but I don't think it was used for ITC. But no,
Right,
that just kind of reminded me of that.
right, right.
And then also with the radio, what was it? And I remember that box that he was talking about. Voice listener or something. Anyway, basically you can build and I remember that device. Basically, Radio Shack used to sell like an amplified speaker.
Um,
So and it had an audio in and an audio output. You connected the audio input, you connected one of those little electric microphones to it that they used to sell. They were called a telephone listening device. Remember, it was just a little electric microphone with a suction cup, and then you connected it to a recorder to record telephone calls. So
mhm.
basically, if you
Yeah,
connect one of those to that little amplifier, it would scan the 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 50 or 60 hertz frequencies, and
right.
basically you'd hear that. Um, anyway, that's another way that you can build one of those, and it's cheap. You can build for one for about $15.
That's not bad at all. See,
No,
and there's a lot of things you can do, and you don't have to invest a lot of money. I mean, it's really, again, it's just more about your intent, your patience, your dedication. I mean, that's really what it takes. And if you have that, I mean, you can make progress with almost anything. There's people that I know have stuck with one recorder or one device there, for a long time, but they've put so much time and effort into it, they've received amazing results. So it's so much about, it's not so much about the investment or how much you spend. And we need to talk more about that project as well, Rob, because I know that we're branching off into other things other than the radio or the ghost box.
right, right. No, but
Excellent.
I know sometimes we go off on a little tangent because that's just human
Yeah.
nature, I guess. We're talking about certain things, kind of get
Right.
distracted and kind of go off a little astray. But
Hmm.
that Josh has a presentation that he wants to talk about tonight.
I always
Um,
ask if we have time because I don't know our audience's patience with this.
well, I mean, if they want to ask, I mean, do you guys want to do a little presentation on what is it on, Josh?
Essentially, reverberation in audio-based ITC, radio-based ITC. The pros and cons from an objective research from an audio engineer, essentially. My experience. I'm not saying I'm the world's greatest audio engineer, but just from what I've learned. If it sounds interesting, we don't have to.
Right.
I don't know what people are saying.
Yeah, Steve. No, that's exactly right. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I got some feedback that I think I went 20 minutes before, and I kind of cut this down to 10 minutes to try and keep the boredom bomb down. But it's up to you. I mean, if you think we have time, we can. It's a
yeah.
big topic. I mean,
Let's
power through it.
just do it. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
they want to do it.
Okay.
So let me
Thanks,
share
Ben.
my screen. Hold on.
Sure. Yeah, if you can pull up
Uh,
I'm going to grab some water. If you can pull up I think it's the first visualizing reverb from Ledger Note.
yep, I got it.
It's a really great graph.
So let me do
Sure.
this. Do you see just a slide up, or do you
I
see the
do.
whole
Yep. I see us
presentation?
to the right and I see
Just a
perfect.
slide.
Yeah. I see the
See the
Ledger
whole.
Note. Yeah. And I have to kind of contort a little bit so I can see the chart on my screen and then also kind of look at you guys. So
But
let me just pull this up
you
here.
don't see the menus and things like that, right? You just see the
No, no,
slide.
it
Okay.
looks nice and clean. It looks like
Okay.
we
Perfect.
tried and put effort into it.
All right, because I can't see, even though I'm using dual monitors, I can't see
Mhm.
that, but we're good. Just tell me when to switch slides, but go for it.
Yeah, we can stay on this one for a while. Okay, reverberation or reverb. Oh, this is such a big topic. The proliferation of reverb has really come about in the last decade, and we've seen that with, obviously, the biggest example has been the guitar amplifier setup with the guitar pedals hooked up into an armband radio of some kind. And that's fine. We're just going to kind of start with that example. But when we really research reverb and understand what it is, you really need to know the pros and cons of reverb and how it can help accentuate and also diminish the quality of your recordings. And you have to weigh those pros and cons out yourself because, again, like I say, who am I to tell you what to use? Okay, this is just my opinion from the research I've done from the perspective of an audio engineer and my experience with ITC research. The first thing we need to know is the basic definition of reverberation. And this is defined as the persistence of a sound after the sound is produced. It's the sound after the raw signal or sound has been produced. So what's left over? We've heard the original sound that's been created. Any sound after that from the source is what we consider reverberation. And reverberation works by reflecting signals. It's reflecting the audio signal off of surfaces. For example, in a room, audio will reflect off of the walls. And the study of reverb, or what an audio engineer does, is we study the geometry of the room and how the pressure wave will react and reflect off of different surfaces. Now, this is using a psychoacoustic example, as if we were in a physical room. We're talking about an input signal into the audio signal flow of a radio-based ITC research device. Reverberation is frequency dependent, meaning it is directly correlated and tied into the frequencies of the source audio it's working with. So when you add reverb, you are definitely impacting the original audio and that signal. The length of the decay is what we're most concerned about. How long does the reverb go on for? And will those frequencies combine and muddle our sound? That's what we have to weigh. There's no free lunch. In economics, there's no free lunch. In audio engineering, there's no free lunch. Same thing with reverb. There's give and take. And we're going to see that in a second. There are a few different types of reverb, and you've probably seen classifications such as room reverb, hall reverb, chamber reverb, spring reverb, and plate reverb. Now, here's the thing about reverb, and we've talked about this already. Reverberation can and will reduce speech intelligibility. And I want to give you a really good example of this. As an audio engineer, I know I like to brag about that a lot, but I work here in Los Angeles, or I have in the past, with a company called the Hearing Health Center. And they work with people with hearing aids. One of the biggest problems that people complain about that have to utilize a hearing aid, or musicians that use in-ear monitors live on stage, is that the intelligibility or understanding the speech is really difficult in places that have a lot of reverb. They go into a restaurant, there's sounds bouncing off the walls, impacting their hearing aids. It reduces the intelligibility. Same thing with musicians live on stage. It's all about reducing the reverb so they can hear phonetical clarity and accuracy of the words that are coming to them, or the music in that situation. And a lot of the times at the Hearing Health Center, their job is to apply de-reverberation, to add to de-reverberize the audio so there's less reflection and you can hear intelligible communication a lot clearer. Now in the graph, and I hope everyone can see it, there's a graph that I found on LedgerNote, and I want to give them the credit. I didn't create this graph, but I really liked it because it says visualizing reverb. And you have the amplitude on the y-axis, and you have the time on the x-axis. And you'll notice, I'm so sorry, let me scroll down here. I've got to look at this, this graph. Okay, it's not going to pull up on here. Okay. Anyway, in between the early reflection phase and the source signal, if you notice there's a blank. Do you see, Rob, can you move your mouse over the, I don't know if you can see the graph. Let me see if I can pull it up again here. I might be able to pull it up. Give me 1 second here so I can, okay, here we go. The early reflections are in green and the source signal is in red. And there's a gap in between the source signal and early reflections. That gap is actually what we consider pre-delay. Pre-delay, before reverb. That is a very important aspect or parameter you want to control. And a lot of these guitar reverb pedals don't have a pre-delay function. Some of them do, some of them don't. But that's the period of time where the source signal is traveling to your ears and you have time to process it before the reverb hits you. Pre-reverb, pre-delay. How much time until the reverb in a large room hits your ears? So basically, how many milliseconds are you hearing the pure, clean, unaffected signal before the reverb attacks your ears and you hear that? That's what's called pre-delay. A lot of these guitar pedals don't have it. If you're going to mess with reverb, you've got to have pre-delay, or you're going to impact the phonetical clarity and accuracy of the first syllable of the first word of the communication coming in. When you combine this with the noise gates of these setups, we talked about last week how the noise gate will cut off the first letter, first syllable, first word. You're removing yourself from being close to the signal as raw as it naturally is. Now, reverb is defined as anything below 50 milliseconds. Anything above that, you're getting into delay echo territory. But anything before 50 milliseconds is what we would consider reverb. The reverb body that's in blue is the section of reverb that's coming to your ears after the source signal has already stopped. This is an area where there's a lot of ambiguity if reverb is too high in the saturation or the mix, because these reflected frequencies can combine and what you hear can be different than the original source audio. We have the decay tail in light blue. That's really minimal in terms of impact of what we hear. It's really in the reverb body within the first 50 milliseconds. That's where the intelligibility of communication is affected the most. Let's see, Rob. You can leave that up. I'm going to go over just a few more points here. Okay. When we talk about speech and vocals, that's what we're listening to in ITC research. You really want, if you're going to use reverb, you want as short of a reverberation time as possible. The reflected sounds, again, can, like, take a word, for example, and I found this on the internet. It's a great example. Cat, cab, and cap. Cat ends in a T, cab ends in a B, and cap ends in a P. But if you're using too much reverb, a lot of those frequencies of those ending syllables in the words will become unclear, and there's going to be ambiguity there, and you won't exactly know what's being said properly. Now, I would like to go over, if we can go to the next slide, Rob. Thank you. I think I'm doing well under 10 minutes. We'll see. I'm going to go right to my observations and conclusion, and I do have some pros I want to throw in here because it's not all bad. I'm not all against reverb, but let's go through these one by one really quick. My first point: reverberation is not necessary for authentic, amazing ghost box communication. I want to say this again. You don't need reverb for a good ghost box. You don't need it for a good session. It is not necessary. You don't have to have it as part of your audio signal flow or formula. The most successful ghost boxes ever created really don't implement reverb. It's not really used in EVP collection or experimentation, and is really problematic on paranormal investigations. And Rob, you can attest to this. After I'm done rambling, you've been on investigations where the room acoustics affect EVP collection. If someone's stomach gurgles in the next room, but you're in a situation where you're in a hall or something like that, that'll get picked up on the EVP recorder. You can thank reverb for that, hearing your friend's stomach across the room. So there's a lot of problems with reverberation, and especially paranormal investigators, when they go out in public, they need to be aware of room acoustics and the materials of the building or the room or wherever they're investigating. Reverberation via guitar pedals or non-adjustable parameters does not account for all variables of the audio signal flow and can oversaturate the communication with a wet mix, reducing phonetical clarity and accuracy. Long decay times combine and reduce frequencies and diminish their tone, frequency response, detail, and subtlety. Reverb is used to create atmosphere and depth in vocal, music production, and sometimes hide mistakes in the mix. And if you ever heard the expression, we'll fix it in the mix, we'll fix it in post. What they're saying is if there's a mistake, when I work with musicians, if there's a mistake in the mix and they don't have the money or the time, we'll fix it in post. And sometimes we use reverb to add ambiguity to something, and it winds up working in music, not so much in ITC research. There is a benefit. I'm getting to that. Hold on a second. Reverb implementation on the same channel as the raw audio cannot be individually equalized and filtered. EQing the reverb will also EQ the raw audio. This is a very big problem. The inherent problem of using a guitar pedal in an audio signal flow for radio-based ITC is it's on the same channel. Whatever you do to the reverb, you're going to do to the incoming signal, the raw audio signal. And this is why I suggest if you do reverb, to do it on a separate channel or to bus it in, if you've heard of the expression audio bus, where you can customize the reverb on a separate channel to exactly what you need for the raw audio signal and apply that channel in a mix to the original raw audio signal channel. Now, what this does is, one, gives you full control over reverb and full control over your audio signal. Two, and most importantly, it lets you record the raw audio signal and the reverberated audio signal. So you have an A and B. So if you listen to the reverb and you go, what was that last word? I can't really tell. There was too much reflection. You can listen to the raw audio file and go, oh, he said Tony, not pony, or cab and not cat. So it's very important if you're going to use reverb effectively, I would have it on a separate channel and bus it into the original signal so you have full control over everything. Where are we? Reverberation via integrated circuitry, outboard gear, and a DAW plugin, which is a digital audio workstation plugin like Audacity, Pro Tools, Cool Edit, can be used as individual parameters of the reverb can be adjusted and fine-tuned to not reduce phonetical clarity and accuracy. We just talked about this. Reverb via an audio bus in a digital audio workstation can be customized to apply the correct equalization and filtration to avoid adding clutter and ambiguity to the mix. And again, most reverbs, especially in a guitar pedal, are attuned to affect frequencies between 1 kilohertz and 10 kilohertz. Well, guess what? That's right where the vocal frequency is for the absolute accuracy and clarity that we need. The vocals sit, a big part of them, right in that range. And the guitar pedal essentially won't let you customize those frequencies within the vocal range. So you can't control what's coming at you in terms of what's been modified from the raw audio signal. And a lot of the times we group this in 2, 4, 6, and 8 kilohertz. But unfortunately, a lot of those guitar pedals don't have that option. Okay, here we go. I'm going to take a drink of water for this. The positives of reverb. And I do have some. I'm going to be objective here. Reverberation via integrated circuitry, outboard gear, or a DAW plugin, implemented in 1 to 30 milliseconds, can be used to thicken, add width, and a sense of depth to the communication. Perfect example, Frank's box had implementations of delay or reverb below 50 milliseconds. Andy's boxes from Chicago Spirit Wave had the same function where you could adjust below 50 milliseconds on, I believe, the Model A and Model E. No, Model E. Model A was dry. One of the best examples, guys, one of the best examples is EchoVox. Danny is an audio engineer, and he understands that when he applied reverb to the app, he gave you full control of that reverb. Just pull up the reverb section right now if you have a phone and look at EchoVox and pull up the reverb menu. You're going to see bandpass filtration. You're going to see delay time. You're going to see the frequencies grouped as octaves. So you're affecting certain frequencies, but not others. And Danny understood that. And that's the implementation of reverb I like to see, where you get the customization, it's bussed in separately. You can run the app raw or you can run it with the reverb. And I find that app to be spectacular. I really like that implementation of reverb. Jay Prather from ITC Devices has implemented reverb and delay in a way that I find effective, so you can control it under 50 milliseconds. And Rob, your RTC box, the first RTC2 box prototype that I beta tested for you had reverb, and I could adjust it just a sprinkle, and it thickened the thin sound, or it added presence to the sound without adding or reduplicating frequencies. Lastly, for my observations, I have 3 additional notes that we talked about with noise gate and noise suppression. Thermal noise from guitar pedal circuits adds unwanted noise and artifacts into the audio signal flow, which, not every pedal adds a lot of thermal noise. It's not always detectable, but it's something to consider. Reverberation guitar pedals employ cable capacitance issues via unbalanced guitar cables, which affect the tone and color of the audio signal. If you're going to use an unbalanced guitar cable, guys, under 6 feet. don't go over 6 feet. If you go over 6 feet, you're going to pick up white noise and garbage and crosstalk and other noise trash from an unbalanced, cheap guitar cable. That's just, it is what it is. If you're going to go over 6 feet, you've got to invest in a really good, Mogami cable. You've got to step up your cable investment, and that can be a few $100s. You'd be surprised. And my last note, which I put on the last one, input impedances from the radio to the guitar pedals to the amp create improper loading, which negatively affects proper gain staging. And again, get the guitar pedal amp set up. From my perspective as an audio engineer, there's not proper gain staging, which lowers the signal to noise ratio, which means you hear less signal and more noise. And we want to go the opposite way. We want to hear more signal, less noise. Conclusion, we're here, guys. Thank you for hanging in there with me. If you're going to work with reverb, and we've mentioned some pros because it can add thickness to a thin sound or add presence. Here are my recommendations. Avoid guitar pedal reverberation. I'm just going to say it. Stop. Stop with the guitar pedals. Stop. There's no raw audio isolation. Whatever you adjust on the reverb, you're going to adjust the input signal. There's no getting around that. You don't want to affect those frequencies, especially at specific amplitudes coming in. And the effect of the tone of the raw audio, it's going to affect that tone. The pedals just do that. How many guitarists, we all have friends who are musicians. How many guitarists play with their pedal boards and they've got to re-EQ something or go back and re-EQ this? They add a pedal. They got to spend another week getting their sound back. How many guitarists do we know that have to get their sound back after they add a guitar pedal? I see it every day, you guys. Do not implement reverb on the same channel as the raw audio signal flow. Reverb EQ, pre-delay, compression, shape, reflection, decay, and filtering need to be separate and isolated to not affect the raw audio signal. Essentially, get your reverb, tune it on a separate channel, and implement that mix into your raw audio signal so you have control over your raw audio and your reverb, and you actually get a better idea of what's going on or how that specific radio will react to the reverb that you select. Use a mono-channel reverb solution to avoid stereo phasing issues. If you're in mono, stay in mono. What does mono mean? It means it's not stereo separation left and right. I've seen people run the guitar amp pedal setup in mono. They'll load their audio into their Audacity or Cool Edit digital audio workstation. They'll load it in stereo. They'll add reverb in stereo and then bounce it back out in mono. What happens is you have an uneven phase between these signals. And essentially what happens is going from left to right back to mono, you have a phase issue, and the reverb will carry that phase issue back to you, again, distorting the original clarity and accuracy of your audio. It affects the original signal. Use a mono-channel reverb with customizable parameters via an audio busing solution to implement said solution with a very slight saturation mix. Again, use reverb very light in your mix. Don't oversaturate. You're going to reduplicate frequencies. They're going to combine. You're not going to know what's being said. And lastly, if you're going to use reverb, use a very short decay time, between 1 and 30 milliseconds. I wouldn't even go to 50 milliseconds. I'd stay lower than 30. And that will, again, thicken a thin sound and add presence. And I do see the benefit of that. There's many ghost boxes that have proven that. Echovox has proven that. I'm not completely against reverb. I'm against reverb that's not being implemented properly and doing a disservice. Guys, you're taking time to sit down and listen to a radio. You're listening to noise, and then you're going to go back and review the noise. Make it easy on yourself. Don't make it harder to hear what should be phonetically clear and accurate. Don't put so many roadblocks in between the raw audio signal. You want to be as close as possible to what's being said. Don't create those roadblocks. Is that it? I think that's it.
That was it.
That was it.
No, that was well done. Yeah, like what Josh said, you always go mono in, mono out. When you're using a radio anyway, it's going to be mono.
Right. And the signal will improve, actually.
What's that?
I don't know. A lot of times the radios I have, the signal will improve in mono.
Oh, yeah. playing around with the boxes, playing around with circuits, things like that. There's most of the signals anywhere coming through stereo. So you're going stereo in, but you can there's ways of rewiring stuff so you're going in mono. So you're going why go stereo in and mono out? It makes no sense. So you
Right.
always
Right.
go you always want to go one way, mono in, mono out.
Right. And I think
Your
there's
your your audio is like really bad.
my
Don't know.
audio is bad.
Yeah, it's digitized.
My presentation wasn't received well.
Hold on one second. Let me try something.
Test 1, 2,
There we
test,
go. We're good
test.
now. We're good. I
Cool.
changed something on my side, so
Yeah, and I think there's something, and this is getting really deep into audio theory applied to ITC. We need to discuss phase and the alignment of audio waves or pressure waves in the future, because it has an impact on how ghost boxes are designed or the setup you use. You may not be hearing everything, or you may be hearing a distorted version of something. And I think the more I realize what we may need to cover is even how to set up a proper ghost box. If you're going to go this route, I guess, is because people do want to go this route. And I want people to be happy. If it makes you happy to use the guitar amp and the pedals, again, who am I to say? Be happy. That's my first concern, is be happy with your life. I want you to feel excitement when you do this. But you do need to know the pros and cons to using reverberation or noise gates. And you'll find something that works for you. You really will. I'm not the be all end all authority on anything. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm not even the best audio engineer where I work. I just happen to be the only one who's interested in ITC, and I'm trying to apply some of these things. So, again, understand it's just my experience. But I would definitely stay away from the guitar pedal reverbs. I really would. If you're
yeah,
going to use reverb.
it's pretty bad. And a lot of it is for effects only.
Right.
And so it's like adding effects to somebody's voice.
Mhm.
It's gonna after if you put too much saturation, you're not gonna be able to understand it. Um, there are certain boxes out there that use spring reverb, and they're just they're too wet, meaning the mix is too much. And
Right.
hearing the responses, if
It,
you
yeah.
hear the response and then you try to clean it up, trust me, I used to have one of these boxes. I owned one, and I would listen to it, I would analyze it, and I said, "Wait a minute, what I first thought I heard is not what we actually heard," because
Right.
I would go back, clean it up, and then I was like, "Wait a minute," and then I would also slow it down a little bit
Mhm.
because there was it's so wet, it's trying to reverse engineer a signal, it's so
Mm.
hard, to
Very
clean it
difficult.
up.
Yeah.
And this is coming from an audio engineer. And also my back I do a lot of audio stuff. I do a
Yeah,
lot of voiceover.
you do.
I do a lot of recordings. I work for a second music company now. So there was a lot of things that I would have to listen to and try to figure out, you know, EQ wise, and now I have to deal with the recordings. But trying to clean things up after they've already been, gone through wet, um, with too much oversaturated
Right.
effects, trying to clean it up, and then once you can, as much as you can,
Mhm.
you listen back, and then you're like, "Wait a minute, what I heard," like he was saying, like what Josh was saying, they were saying "cat," we kept on hearing "cat," but it was actually like he was wearing a cap. We're like, "Why would he be wearing a cap?" And we cleaned it
Well, but,
up.
some people, yeah.
You're right, and then it was like and then somebody said, "No, he was carrying a cat," and I was like, "We cleaned it up." And then he was wearing a cap is what
Mhm.
we after I cleaned it up.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying you have to it's all the interpretation, but then once
Right.
you get clean audio, I would rather take a clean audio that has no effects over something that has a lot of effects. But,
Oh, yeah.
everybody, it's to each his own.
And that's why I don't want to discourage someone, or, some people might be upset that I'm saying this, or some people might say, "Oh, Josh told me not to use this, and now I really like my setup." And no, use your setup, use
Yeah.
it. I just want to tell you there's pros and cons to this, and again, there's no free lunch, and you have to understand one of my goals is I want to share my knowledge of how the pressure wave works, and so we can implement this into ITC research. It's not the be all end all. There's things I don't understand, and there's things that spirit does that I don't understand. But from the physics of this dimension, I can explain how reverb works. And the box you were talking about, Rob, with the spring reverb, a lot of it has to do with order of operation, where that reverb is placed in the gain staging, where it's placed in the audio signal flow, and the fact that you can't control pre-delay, the point at which you hear the signal cleanly before the reverb hits your ears. So there's really no opportunity to assess phonetical clarity of accuracy of anything being said. It's just all coming into at you affected. And that really, well, it lends more to pareidolia. And it also lends, I'm sorry, but these devices lend to leading the witness with fake ITC sessions, because you're not quite sure what's being said because it's so much reverb and there's noise gates, but then they annotate it on the screen and you go, oh, I trust this person, so it must have said what he put on the screen.
When actually, if you listen back to those recordings, none of that was said at all. They might have had one word and the rest of it was unlegible or understandable.
Right.
And
Right.
that person led you to believe what you just heard. When
Right.
you listen back to it and clean it up, none of that was said. It was just maybe the first word, and that was it.
Right.
Um, and that's why it's like what Josh said. If you want to hide mistakes, use reverb,
It's
use
true.
echo,
It's
use
true.
use phaser, use
Yeah.
any friend. What's it called? Um, God, I can't even think of it. There,
The,
use spring. Use
mm,
there's so many different effects out there. That's why if you go to a guitar, if you go to a big company that sells instruments, that sells pedals, you're going to see hundreds of pedals
right.
and
Oh,
hundreds that
Rob,
do the
there's
same.
thousands.
I know, right? I
There's a
mean,
mom and pop businesses that make 5 a year, and they're $2,000. The guitarists are searching for these guitar pedals. It's unreal.
no, I understand that,
Right.
and like what Josh was saying earlier, is a lot of them, the more expensive pedals, they're going to have more adjustments to the decay,
True.
to the timing, to
Mm,
there's a lot, to the type of effect, but most of it's timing and decay. Those are the two main adjustments on a pedal. Then you
right.
have other, like a main one that you might change the, if it's a hall, if it's a what else? A hall, a theater, different types of room to give different types of effects.
Right.
And then you'll also have the amount of reverb that you're adding,
Mhm.
and the decay and the time.
Right.
So it's
There's
crazy. Like you can
Yeah,
say a word and you can have it repeat for like 5 minutes. Um,
exactly. Yeah, depending on
depending
reverb, decay, delay, echo, delay. Exactly.
And some of the more expensive ones, you can have that loop. Basically, you'll hear
Yeah.
that, like,
It's
I just say "the," and it'll just loop "the" for, basically forever, and then you'll hear other things coming in on the background.
that
It's crazy on what you can do with pedals.
that's actually called regeneration rate. And
Right.
when you slam the regeneration rate, you'll hear
You'll hear it almost
the. Right. So essentially, we're dealing with something that's reduplicating frequencies, but it's not taking into account what's coming back to you. It's affecting the original frequency in these setups that we're talking about, these very specific setups. Again, I don't want to discourage reverb because it has been proven to work and help in many situations. Again, I'm speaking exactly to the guitar pedal amplifier setup. Um, so take everything, as they say, with a grain of salt. Take this knowledge and apply it to whatever you're doing. Maybe you still want to go the route of the guitar pedal and do it. because maybe I don't know everything. Maybe there's something you're going to stumble upon, and then a year later I'm going to go, hey Rob, I got to do a presentation on how awesome reverb is. It's possible. I don't know everything, but as of this moment, from my research, my history, my life experiences, I would stick with a reverberation that you can at least control every parameter and control how much of that is affecting the raw audio signal. So you have both channels. That's what I would recommend.
Well, that's why, I implemented reverb because it was requested by
Right.
everybody that
Yeah.
wanted one of my boxes. So
I'm like, why? But
I
okay.
but
Right.
um
Right. You did.
I tell people, don't add too much.
Right.
Just turn it on where you can barely hear it.
Just a sprinkle.
Just
Just a
a little
sprinkle.
sprinkle. And it helps. Yes, it does. In
Yeah.
that aspect, it does help.
Yeah. It can.
Um, but y- because it's not really changing the the actual signal that's coming in,
Exactly.
there's not much of a difference. You can
Right.
turn it off. You can just add just that little 2%.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna use that as a number. And there's really not that much of a difference.
Right.
You still can hear the voice perfectly clear. It
Mhm.
just has a little bit more of a long it's drawn out just a little bit more so you can understand what was being said. That's all. If when people start oversaturating it, I was like,
Right.
whoa, that's way too much. Now you're changing the tone of the voice that was coming through.
Right. It's we all cook food. You know, when my son and I cook, the first time he tasted salt, he wanted to dump the entire thing of salt into the recipe. And you learn very quick. You go, oh my gosh, that's too much. In fact, it was Chex Mix. I think we were making Chex Mix at holiday time. Too much garlic salt. And it's really like when you're making cookies with vanilla, you just want a little bit, just a
Yeah.
sprinkle. Just be very reserved with what you're using, and understand that yes, it can help, but too much of anything is not good. So it's really about finding that balance and applying that balance with the right techniques. And I'm trying to share my best practices as an ITC researcher, as an audio engineer. It may not work for you, and maybe it doesn't, and that's okay. But that's been my experience with it. Rob knows how I feel about it. When I tested your first box, I was like, and you let me know you could replace the reverb function with a duty cycle adjustment, and I hit the roof. I'm like, oh, now you're talking my language. Like now I can elongate how long the sweep stays on a radio station so they can cram more words and phrases in there. Give me the duty cycle adjustment, not so much the reverb. But I understand. And again, Frank's boxes, Chicago Spirit Wave, Echo Vox, IDC devices, your RTC box, great examples of how to implement reverb from an integrated circuit. You can control the filtering, the bandpass. It's designed with the boutique ghost box in mind. It's designed for the ITC researcher in mind. Some of the guitar pedals just won't offer you those options.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's just where we all stand. I mean, we just wanted to coming from ITC box builders, that's what we kind of all recommend. We do add reverb,
Hmm?
and it's funny because every box builder I know, we're all using the same reverb pedal or reverb. It's not even a pedal. It's a board that you can buy. We're all using that same board. I know Jay's using it. I know KD's using it. Um, I'm
Oh, I
using
left out
it.
Supernatural Ink. You're right.
There's a few people that are using the same reverb. Um,
Right.
because it's taking that it's very controllable. It's not like
Right.
using a reverb pedal where it's
Right.
just oversaturated. You can
Right.
just really you can add it to the mix basically.
And you
So
can customize it so it's not reducing amplitude
exactly,
from the original frequencies.
exactly.
So you're maintaining the integrity of the original audio file, which is so important. It
Oh
really
yeah.
is.
And like I said, I mean, we're pretty fortunate to be we're not just about building boxes.
Right.
Um, it with me, it's like the reason why I started building boxes was to get an inexpensive boutique box in somebody's hands.
Mhm.
Yes, prices went up. I can't control that because of stupid tariff, but it's crazy. The tariff prices are crazy. And
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
unfortunately,
yeah.
we have to, we can't just, um, unfortunately, if I could, I would just say, you know what, my boxes are staying at the same price and money, but you know,
In order for you to keep making boxes, and for Steve and Katie to keep making boxes, and all the box builders, you have to have some profit or some initiative. I mean,
yeah,
if you're breaking even and you're making all these boxes, I mean, I know you want to help people and you have a big heart, but at the same time, you've got to keep this business going. You have to get these parts from overseas. There's a great cost to it, and it kind of drives me nuts because an instrument in music, people have no problem paying for, especially a custom instrument. You guys are doing the same thing. It's instrumental transcommunication, instrumental. You're building instruments. You should be making money and you should be making profit so you can reinvest back into the business and you can go buy yourself an ice cream. You know
yeah,
what I mean? I mean, we want you to stay motivated and keep that fire under you. And if you have that, there's nothing wrong with that because that's going to support getting more boxes out there.
now
So,
if yeah, and getting it, I should have. I have something in the mailbox waiting for me.
oh,
It's I'm not big on EMF detectors, but
yeah,
when I saw this particular EMF detector
right.
demoed, um, I said I have to have one. Um,
Wow.
it's a tri-band meter.
Okay.
Um, they blow everything out there out of the water. It's crazy. And so, yeah, I'm kind of excited. I actually ordered 3 of them,
Oh, one for me.
possibly.
I know, dude.
But
I'm just
but
kidding.
I mean, it's just because I like to have them on display,
Right. Oh, for your Saturday shows, right?
for my Saturday
Right.
show, but it works really well, and
Mm.
it's not super sensitive like everything else out there, because everything else out there, I can manipulate. I can manipulate a millimeter, no problem.
Yeah.
Manipulate a
Yeah.
kVmeter. I
Mhm,
can manipulate, a bunch of meters out there. I
mhm.
could go down the list of the meters I can manipulate really easy, but this one is very, very hard to manipulate because it's very, very accurate. Um, so
I
yeah,
want to see it. Yeah,
I'm
that sounds interesting. I'm gonna see
I'm
that
very excited to get one. So
in
I'll
your
I'll,
mailbox. You just
I'll
have to
demo
walk
it.
out.
I'll
Yeah,
demo it on Saturday.
yeah, you have to now because there's people from your Saturday show that'll watch this and they'll want to see it on Saturday. And I'll definitely be texting you like, "Hey, let's break it out." So
Oh no, it'll
we'll
be
hold
on
you
this.
to it.
Yeah, they're pretty. They're kinda cool looking, but yeah,
Right.
they're separated. There's 3 bands. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty excited.
No, that is exciting, and the sooner you implement it, the sooner we'll know the effectiveness of that EMF. Because, like you said, a lot of EMF meters leave a lot to be desired, and especially considering to accurately read a room. I mean, you can read changes or fluctuations, but if you want to read something at any given point at any given time, I mean, you would need to monitor every single point in the
Exactly.
room. So
Yeah.
eh, yes, you're
And
measuring the fluctuations
and for
in the
me, I
device.
mean, because that was part of my job too. I mean, I had
Right.
to figure out what caused radio frequency interference.
RFI. Yeah.
Yeah, just and EMI.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. EMF really doesn't exist. It's actually EMI. It's electromagnetic interference.
Right.
That's basically what engineers look at. If you ever talk to an electrical engineer and you tell them EMF, they're like,
Yeah.
"What
They're
are you,
like, what?
you're talking about EMI?"
Right.
We've talked about this, but
Right. It's not frequency, it's interference. You're measuring the interference.
interference, that's
Right.
measuring is
Right.
interference, not frequency.
Right.
If
And
you want,
that's
if you want to measure frequency, then get a frequency counter.
well, and then again, you have to measure every spot in a given room at a given moment in time, and then use
You
that foundation or basis to go forward and then measure the delta or the change. It's, there's no shortcut with that.
No, exactly. So, there's a lot to it. It's a science, and a lot of people, like I said, don't want to put time and energy behind anything because it's a science and it takes
Right.
time and energy.
We come
Uh,
back to instant gratification. We always full circle to people
ITC
wanting
takes a
the instant
lot of
gratification.
time, a lot of effort,
Yeah.
and just do your due diligence. Listen to um, listen to uh, the radio. Just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
Um, I'm even learning. I'm trying not to talk as much
Right.
during my shows on Saturday. The only time that I will ask something or say something um, is when I hear something, and then I'll say, "Was that blah 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 that you just said? If so, can you please repeat it?" Or if I'm asking a question.
Right.
Um, Now I'm just kind of sitting there and just keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah. And I mean, that goes back to some of the earliest researchers and pioneers, and Frank Sumption was a champion of that. He got so upset. He's like, just listen to what's being said, observe,
Yeah,
study, understand. And people are so quick to talk, and I understand,
yeah, you
people,
get excited. You do get excited.
you get excited, of course.
I
And
still get excited, or
right,
I'll get upset with whatever is being said.
right,
And that's the thing. Like that's the beauty about what Steve has done with reverse speech. With
yes,
reverse speech,
right,
we shouldn't be hearing anything that's understandable because it's all coming in reverse.
right,
Now, how are you getting a full sentence coming through when the audio that's playing is in reverse? There's
right.
no way, no possible way.
Well, and then even on your Saturday shows, Rob, and we can get into this in another show, but in reverse, you're running a reverse box. But in forward speech, within 5 minutes, we hear all 5 or 6 very popular spirit tech names: Tom, Lisa, Eva, David, Michael. And the techs are there to help the communication. And you hear that within a 5 minute period of time. In reverse, you're like, okay, explain the mathematical probability. Occam's razor. There's not someone in a radio station somewhere saying those exact names. You know what I'm saying?
And it's
There's
not
no coincidence with that. That's real communication.
yeah, we're getting so many names come through
Right.
at any particular time.
Right.
It's like one name right after another. Now, and you know, and Josh, you being in broadcast, over a broadcast, a name is pretty rare. I mean, the only time you're going to hear it is during an introduction or if they're saying their own name, like
Right.
during a broadcaster.
Right.
And that's not going to happen within a full sweep, where during a full sweep, you're going to get 5 names right
Right.
off the bat.
Right.
That's near impossible.
And they all happen to be the spirit tech names that have been documented over the last 70 years. So you start to hear that and you go, well, I'm hearing these spirit tech names. I'm hearing this personal information come through.
In
And you're
reverse speech.
in reverse. And even if you're
Even if you're
scanning at
standing
100 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds, it's too fast to even get a full word in from the
from the radio.
radio. So when you start adding these pieces of evidence up, it really becomes clear that someone in a
In a
radio
radio
station or a
or
ham radio, 10 miles away doesn't know the nickname you were called when you were 7 years old, and they're not repeating it through reverse speech through their ham
ham
radio
radio.
sitting at their house. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think of these situations, you're like, it actually makes more sense that it's coming from another dimension. I'm sorry, but it does.
Yeah.
It just does. When you really piece this stuff together. I
Yep.
say dimension loosely, wherever it's coming from.
So if you guys have any topic for our
Wow, it's
next show,
10:30. Whew.
yeah, for our next show, just please let us know.
Right.
Any feedback would be great.
Please, constructive criticism, we can take it. Just let us know, guys. Too much education, not enough, whatever. Just let us know.
Yeah, just let us know what you guys want to hear or what you want to see. Um, universe. All right, we can do that.
Oh, that's a big discussion. But I believe the EM is there as well. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
You never know.
but no, I think that yeah, if you guys have anything that you want to, any topic you guys want to talk about, you guys want us to talk about, feel free to just send us your feedback. And this show's about you guys. It's not about us. We're just trying to share information out there. Um, you know, try to get different box builders on the show, talk about what people are working on. Um, give you guys any advice, or if you guys have any questions on which box to buy or whatever, we can point you in the right direction. We'll just ask you what you're looking for and point you in the right direction. So anyway, we'll thanks for watching,
Thank you very much for your time.
and if you guys want, you can tune in on Saturday night at, God, I can't even remember now, 11:45 p.m. Pacific time.
Or you know what, guys? At best, watch the replays. You can see
Or what-
Rob run his box in real time. No tricks, no effects. We're not hiding anything. We're not making money from these streams. It's genuine, straight up ghost box communication. You'll hear it in reverse. It'll play in reverse. You'll hear forward speech, and it's incredible, you guys. And he does it for 4 hours. So tune in, please, at least for a few minutes, and check out what's going on with this box.
Yeah, Deb. My show is, so you guys are what, a day
Good night,
ahead of
Don.
us. But a lot of people,
Christina.
yeah, do watch my show on. So it's Saturday night, 11:45 p.m. Pacific time. I don't know what time that is in Australia, but I know it's in the morning. I think. I'm not sure.
And thank you to special guest and Ghostbox legend Steve Holte. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and honoring us and sharing your knowledge. And we hope to have you on again. The honor is all ours. And thank you for the audience. Thank you for joining in.
All right. And you guys have a great night, and we'll see you guys soon.
Be well, everyone. See you next Wednesday.